On the day of the wedding, my wife's first love jumped off a building. 3 years ago, my wife's first love left her and went abroad. Out of spite, she married me. On the day of our wedding, her first love jumped off a building in a suicide attempt but ended up in a coma. She blamed me for all of this and insisted on bringing her first love home to take care of him. Reluctantly, I agreed. But then, she and her first love acted affectionate in front of me every day. I got angry and tried to persuade her, but she said, "He's just a vegetative person with no consciousness. Why do you need to make a fuss about it?" Chapter 1. 3 years ago, by Shasha's first love, Song Yu, whom she had always liked, suddenly left her and went abroad, never to return. Out of frustration, she looked at me, someone who had secretly admired her for a long time, and asked, "Would you marry me?" I was overjoyed and nodded repeatedly. I knew full well I was just her backup, but I always hoped that one day, she would be touched by my sincerity. On our wedding day, she was waiting to be my bride, her face radiant and shy with a smile. But after a sudden phone call, her body stiffened, and her face turned pale. I asked her what was wrong, but she turned and ran off, leaving only one sentence: "You handle the rest of the ceremony yourself." In front of everyone, I awkwardly went through the rest of the wedding alone. After the ceremony, I asked where she had gone, what had happened, and if she needed any help. She impatiently told me not to bother her and hung up the phone. When I called again, it was turned off. Filled with questions, I waited for her at home all night, not sleeping. Finally, in the early hours of the morning, she came home, dragging her exhausted body. She was still wearing the wedding dress from earlier, but it was stained with dried blood. Seeing the bloodstains startled me, and all my resentment turned into concern. "Darling, what happened?" She gave me a sorrowful look, hesitated, and simply said, "It's nothing." How could it be nothing? On the happiest day of her life, she was filled with an unspeakable sadness. "We're married now, I'm your husband. If there's something wrong, just tell me." Seeing her clearly troubled but refusing to speak, I became anxious and raised my voice. But she ignored me, grabbed a towel, and went into the bathroom. The sound of running water from the bathroom gradually soothed the anger rising in me. Maybe she just didn't want to talk about it, and I decided not to press her any further. The next morning, I got up to make breakfast, only to find Bai Shasha busy in the kitchen. We had lived together for 3 years, and she had never cooked before. So why was she suddenly cooking after our wedding? I was delighted and hugged her waist from behind, playfully asking, "On our first day of marriage, you're already thinking about taking care of me?" But she shoved me away irritably. "Get off, don't disturb me, I'm making soup." Soup? I was puzzled. It's early in the morning, and you're making soup. I looked at the ingredients, and to my surprise, it was shrimp, corn, and pork rib soup. I've always been allergic to seafood, and she knows that. "Darling, you're not making this for me, are you?" She glanced at me coldly, her tone indifferent as she replied, "A friend of mine broke his leg, I'm going to visit him." So, she had been out yesterday for a friend. What kind of friend was so important that she would leave me on our wedding day? What friend? I asked curiously. Bai Shasha didn't answer right away. She placed the soup into a thermos, removed her apron, and casually replied, "Song Yu." With that, she took the thermos and left. I stood there in shock. No wonder she would leave me behind, no wonder she was willing to cook for someone everything was for her first love. My previously good mood suddenly turned to frustration. After work that evening, Bai Shasha sent me a message, "I'm on a caregiving shift tonight, don't wait for me." Those few short words felt like an endless provocation. My heart seemed to be struck by something heavy, the pain making it hard to breathe. It was our wedding night, yet she chose to go be with her first love. After a brief silence, I called her. "Is something wrong?" she asked coldly, rejecting me with just a few words as soon as the call was answered. "Shasha, what about Song Yu's family? Can't they take care of him?" I tried to soften my tone. Instead, she exploded at me, "Jiang Huai, can you stop being so petty? We're married now, and you're still thinking like this." I cleared my throat, suppressing my emotions. "We just got married, and you left me to be with him. Didn't you think about how I feel? I'm already overwhelmed, can you give me some space? Stop pushing me, or I won't come back again." Bai Shasha's tone was cold and impatient. Before I could respond, she hung up the phone. I had no appetite to eat and lay on the couch, bored, scrolling through my phone. Suddenly, I saw a recommendation from a system, people you might know moments. The caption read, "When I heard she got married, I couldn't resist the urge to do something foolish. Turns out, after all these years, I still can't forget her." The photo was taken from the top of a tall building. The date was yesterday, the same day I married by Shasha. Just as I was unsure of who this person was, I noticed a comment underneath, "I feel the same. Even though I'm with him, I'm always thinking of you." The avatar of the person who left the comment was none other than my wife, by Shasha. I gripped my phone tightly, almost feeling like smashing it. So, being a substitute wasn't easy. I had been living in Song Yu's shadow all along, even though he had abandoned her back then. No matter how well I treated by Shasha these past 3 years, even to the point of losing myself, she wouldn't be moved at all. She only remembered her first love, Song Yu. When Song Yu abandoned her back then, she cried for 3 days and nights, trying to end her life. It was I who kept vigil and stayed by her side, helping her through the darkest period of her life. Over the past 3 years, I did everything I could to help her forget the pain Song Yu had caused. I never missed her birthday, even if I was on a business trip, I'd rush back in the middle of the night to give her a gift. Yet, her face never showed any emotion, always calm and indifferent. Every year on Valentine's Day, I took her on trips to relax, took photos of every beautiful place just to see the rare smile on her face. I thought true love would be reciprocated with true love. But it seems, everything was just my one-sided wishful thinking. I looked up at the wedding photo on the wall, and only then did I realize that even when she was being photographed, there was a hint of sadness in her eyes, a sadness that Song Yu had left her with. I let out a self-deprecating laugh, took a bottle of red wine from the cabinet, and began drinking directly from the bottle. I don't know how much time had passed, but I suddenly heard the sound of a key turning in the door. Dizzy, I struggled to open my eyes and, through the blur, saw Bai Shasha walk past me holding a thermos. She didn't even glance at me before heading straight to the kitchen. I mustered what little strength I had, stumbled to the kitchen door, and saw Bai Shasha once again making soup. Hearing me approach, she casually glanced at me before continuing to cook for her first love. I forced a smile. "Shasha, since I've known you, I've never eaten a meal you've cooked." Chapter 2. Bai Shasha paused for a moment while cooking, then continued with her actions. As she cooked, she coldly replied to me, "We won't have much time together in the future, right? Song Yu's family hasn't arrived at the hospital yet, and once they do, I won't have to trouble myself like this anymore." I wanted to say, "Will we even have a future? For this Song Yu, you ruined a wedding I had spent 3 months planning, causing me to lose face in front of friends and family. My parents had to force smiles and cover for your lies. Even the expensive diamond ring I bought for you with thousands of dollars, you carelessly dropped on the floor. All of this for Song Yu. Who was it that promised to marry me? Who was it that swore in front of me that she would forget Song Ari? Yet, the moment he appeared, everything changed. At that point, Bai Shasha had already placed the soup into the thermos. She walked past me and went straight to the bedroom, then took a shower. I, exhausted, barely managed to walk to the couch and collapse on it. Perhaps due to last night's drinking and catching a cold, I felt cold all over, my head was throbbing, and I just wanted to fall back asleep in a daze. After a while, Bai Shasha finished tidying up and walked past me with the thermos. She glanced at me, furrowed her brows, and casually said, "Drinking alone? Shasha, I think I caught a cold. Could you please go downstairs to the pharmacy and get me some cold medicine before you leave?" I tried to sound as calm as possible, as if nothing had happened. She hesitated for a moment, then dropped a sentence, "Call your parents and ask them to bring you some medicine. I can't leave Song Yu alone at the hospital." Song Yu alone at the hospital? She's worried about him, but she's perfectly fine leaving her feverish husband alone at home. Is that how it works? It seems that the person who is loved, no matter how safe, always causes worry, while the one who isn't loved well, even if they die, no one would care. Half an hour after Bai Shasha left, my parents came by on their own. When they saw my state, my mom immediately guessed I had a cold. She insisted on taking me to the hospital, but I had no energy and didn't want to move, so she had my dad buy me some cold medicine instead. Whereas Shasha? My mom looked around and, not seen Bai Shasha, asked, "It's not even time for work yet, where is she?" My parents didn't know about the relationship between Bai Shasha and Song Yu. She went to the hospital to take care of a friend. Muhan, can you finally tell me what happened on the wedding day? What kind of bride leaves the wedding halfway? My dad looked at me seriously. My mom had me take the medicine, then went to the kitchen to cook. Dad, really, it's nothing. Her close friend had a car accident, and the doctor called her. I lied casually because if I told the truth, my dad would definitely want me to divorce her. At the beginning, he never liked Baishasha, saying her personality was cold and hard to approach. In the 3 years that I had known her, Baishasha had rarely said anything warm to them. After hearing my explanation, my dad nodded. I didn't expect Shasha to be someone so cold on the outside but warm on the inside. I smiled bitterly. Yes, she was warm, but only toward Song Yu. After taking the medicine and drinking some porridge, I felt much better. Once my parents left, I called in sick to work and went back to rest. Just as I picked up my phone, I received a call from the hospital. Hello, is this Mr. Shin? I was confused. Why was the hospital calling me at this time? I muttered an "oh," and their voice on the other end continued, "Your wife has been beaten. You should come to the hospital right away." When I heard this, I was stunned. How could she have been beaten for no reason? No matter what, I had to go to the hospital to check on her. After all, Baishasha had been the woman I cared for deeply over these 3 years. I just stood up, but I was so dizzy that I almost fell again. I quickly grabbed some medicine and swallowed it, then stumbled to hail a taxi straight to the hospital. As soon as I entered the hospital lobby, I saw Baishasha sitting there, disheveled and in a sorry state. 2 women were standing next to her, yelling and scolding her. When they saw me coming, one of the older women rushed up to me, grabbing my arm and shouting, "You're her man, right?" I nodded. What happened? The woman pointed at Baishasha without hesitation and said, "Don't you keep an eye on your woman? She's been flirting with my son. Look at what she's done to him." The younger woman also stepped forward to argue with me. My brother was supposed to marry the daughter of the richest man. Now look, because of her, he's trying to commit suicide by jumping off a building. The rich girl left him, and now he has become a burden. What are you going to do about this? I shook off their hands. Let me see my wife first, then we'll talk. Pushing through the crowd, I crouched down in front of Baishasha. I saw that her face was scratched by these women, leaving bloody marks. It made my heart ache. 2 nurses were applying medicine to her wounds. When she saw me, she forced a sad smile. "Sorry you had to see this. Why didn't you call the police?" I asked. Baishasha shook her head. "They are his family. I don't want to make things difficult for him." I was speechless. Even at a time like this, she was still thinking about Song Yu. She didn't even call the police. We didn't call the police, and we're already giving her an advantage. If it weren't for her, my son wouldn't be in this state. Song Yu's mother bared her teeth and looked at me. "Since you're her husband, what do you think should happen next?" "What should happen?" I glared at her angrily. "He jumped by himself. My wife has slept for days and nights taking care of him, and you're saying I should be sorry for your son. What about me? I'm concerned about my wife. No matter what, at this moment, I couldn't join these outsiders in attacking Baishasha. Sometimes, people deceive themselves. I had always believed that the love I gave her would be felt by her." Song Yu's mother was stunned into silence by my words, and when she looked at Baishasha, her gaze softened slightly. "So what if my brother jumped? He did it for this woman. She's the real cause of all this. You have to compensate us." Song Yu's sister wouldn't let up. "Then I'll call the police," I said, pulling out my phone to report the incident. Baishasha stepped forward to stop me. "Don't call the police. They've bullied you like this, and you're still thinking about Song Yu." I felt a surge of anger. My wife was thinking about another man. This wasn't right. Baishasha thought for a moment, then said something that almost made my jaw drop. She looked at Song Yu's mother and said, "Auntie, how about this? I'll take care of him for the rest of his life." Chapter 3. As soon as Baishasha finished speaking, the crowd around us started commenting with various opinions. "She's really a devoted woman. I can't tell who the third party is anymore. From the looks of it, this husband is the third party. These 2 obviously have true love." When Song's mother and sister heard Baishasha say she wanted to take care of Song Yu for the rest of his life, they discussed it and agreed. Alright, then write a guarantee that you won't abuse our Song-yu when we're not around. Song-e's sister took out paper and a pen from her bag and handed them to Bai Shasha. Bai Shasha took it and wrote the guarantee without hesitation. I stood to the side, watching her like I was watching a show, wondering what kind of act she was playing. After getting the guarantee, the Song family was satisfied and left. I didn't say a word and just kept watching Bai Shasha. To my surprise, she suddenly turned around and knelt in front of me, pleading, "Husband, let me bring Song-yu home. He's a vegetable now because of me, and I can't just stand by and do nothing." Some people in the crowd took pictures, while others tried to persuade me, just fulfill her wish. People should act according to their conscience, otherwise, your life together won't be good. Yes, I've heard of couples who care for their paralyzed ex-husbands. They get along well. If he really comes home, how would the current husband feel watching his wife take care of her ex? I lowered my head and looked at Bai Shasha, saying in a deep voice, "Get up. Kneeling in front of all these people, aren't you forcing me to agree?" It seemed that she really loved Song-yu to the point of kneeling before me for him. She had once been so high and mighty, but now she was willing to stoop so low for her white moonlight. Bai Shasha stood up, and her eyes brightened as she looked at me. "I knew you'd agree." I had actually said yes. Sure enough, she really did bring Song-yu home. Song-yu had indeed turned into a vegetable. He could only open his mouth to eat, and everything else eating, drinking, and relieving himself required assistance. Seeing someone like that move in, I could only feel disgusted. On the first day, I told Bai Shasha I wanted a divorce. "It seems you still won't forgive me." Bai Shasha's eyes filled with tears. "I know I hurt you, but look at him. He's like this now. Don't hold it against me anymore." She didn't finish her sentence before big tears began to roll down her cheeks. Since we had started officially dating, I always thought she was a strong woman, cold, quiet, and rarely smiled, let alone cried. I never imagined she would change for Song-yu like this. Seeing I wasn't speaking, she continued to assure me, "Husband, I promise I'll only take care of him for a year. The doctor said he might recover after a year. What if he doesn't recover? Are you really planning to take care of him for the rest of your life?" She hesitated for a moment and said, "We could hire a nurse. This way, it wouldn't affect our life as a couple. What do you think? This is your problem, not mine. If you really want to take care of him, even for the rest of his life, divorce me first," I said firmly, leaving no room for negotiation. She was angry. "Shin Muhan, if it weren't for you insisting on marrying me, how could Song-yu have jumped? Isn't all of this your fault? I'm helping you atone for your sins. Can't you see that?" "What did you say? Atone for my sins?" I was both angry and incredulous. "Bai Shasha, are you crazy? Just because I married you, he jumped? Is that really my fault? Then what else could it be?" Bai Shasha's eyes narrowed as she moved closer to me. "Shin Muhan, this is all your fault, and now that the problem has come, you're trying to avoid it." This was really unreasonable. I didn't want to argue with her anymore, so I began packing to leave. "I'm pregnant with your child." "What?" I was shocked and turned to look at her, suddenly understanding it was all part of her plan. "Bai Shasha, whatever tricks you're trying, they won't work on me." Seeing my hesitation, she took a test result out of her bag and handed it to me. Seeing the test result, I was suddenly stunned. Bai Shasha was really pregnant. "Actually, I wanted to tell you on our wedding day, but I didn't have the chance. Then I got a call from the doctor saying that Song-yu had jumped and committed suicide. When I heard it, I really lost my mind. I just thought I had to make sure nothing happened. If he really did something, none of us would have a good life. Muhan, for the sake of our child, can we stop talking about divorce?" Bai Shasha's eyes now carried a hint of pleading. In my memory, she rarely looked at me directly. It was always me who comforted her, always the one to take the initiative. But seeing the test result in my hand and thinking about how my mother had always wanted a grandchild, I nodded. Seeing me nod, Bai Shasha finally showed a sincere smile in front of me. Her smile had always been beautiful, but today, this heartfelt smile made her look even more stunning. "Can I tell my parents about this?" I asked Bai Shasha for her opinion. If my parents knew I was going to be a father, they would definitely be thrilled. I could already picture the happy scene in my mind before I even made the call. Baishasha nodded. Of course. I immediately took out my phone and called my parents. It was my mother who answered the phone. Mom, Shasha is pregnant. What did you say? My mom couldn't believe it and asked again, say it one more time. Mom, Shasha is pregnant. You're going to have a grandson. I repeated it loudly, and on the other end of the line, I heard my mom excitedly tell my dad, old man, did you hear that? The Shin family will have heirs. And just like that, Song-yu officially moved into my house. I also hired a full-time caregiver for Song-yu, so Baishasha would have it much easier. Baishasha seemed like a different person, treating me better and better. I thought this peaceful life would continue for a year. Until one weekend, when the caregiver had to go back to her hometown, Baishasha decided to cook for herself and made a pot of dumplings with 3 fillings. She served 2 bowls, and I told her to eat first while I went to feed Song-yu. But she insisted on feeding him herself. By the time I finished eating, she still hadn't come out of Song-yu's bedroom. I was about to go check, only to see Baishasha feeding Song-yu dumplings mouth to mouth. Baishasha, what are you doing in broad daylight? Baishasha turned around. When she saw my face dark with anger, she asked, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with me? You're kissing him in front of me, have you considered my feelings? To my surprise, she got angry instead. Shin Muhan, stop making a scene. I'm worried the dumplings will burn him. He's just a comatose vegetable, what are you even arguing about with him? You're kissing another man in front of me, and you're saying I'm the one who's being unreasonable. Chapter 4. I was so angry that I didn't mean to give her any leniency. She was so angry that she locked me in the kitchen with a bowl and didn't come out for a long time. This weekend, Song-yu had a terrible time. Since then, I started to pay more attention to Song-yu's room. One night, after working overtime at the company, I turned on the surveillance I secretly installed in Song-yu's room to see how he recovered. I saw Baishasha wearing sexy pajamas, getting on Song-yu's bed, lying beside him, and putting her face on his chest, just lying there quietly for a long time. The purpose of installing this surveillance was to see how Song-yu's body recovered. I originally wanted to discuss it with Baishasha, but I was afraid that she would be angry and scold me for being narrow-minded, and that the surveillance was installed to monitor her, etc. In addition, she was pregnant and couldn't be angry, so I didn't tell her. Who knew that I would see such a disgusting face from it? My fingertips trembled as I touched the phone. I felt like I had fallen into a cold deep sea, shaking uncontrollably. At this time, my colleague Xiaowan was just about to discuss work with me. Seeing my absent-minded state, he was startled and asked me quickly, Brother Shin, what's wrong with you? I tried to swallow my saliva and my emotions, and tried to relax my expression on my face. Then I forced a smile at him, I'm fine. I waited until everyone left before I rushed home in a trance. Why did you come back only now? As soon as I opened the door and came in, I saw Baishasha appear in the living room, drinking water. The pajamas she was wearing were no longer the same as before. The one she was wearing now was very conservative, not even showing her shoulders. I looked at her meaningfully and hummed as a response. Are you tired? Do you want me to get you something to eat? Baishasha asked me with concern. I looked at her sideways. Is she trying to please me? Why are you looking at me like that? She smiled. Did Song-yu make any progress today? I asked. She was stunned for a moment and said, I guess so. Anyway, he's getting better day by day. I ignored her and fell asleep on the bed after washing up. Baishasha lay down beside me and stretched out one arm to me. I took it away and turned my back to her and continued to pretend to sleep. I didn't want to break this paper now. I wanted to see what Baishasha's intention was. The next night, I still told her that I had to work overtime. Then, I called a very good classmate Ju Tong. Ju Tong was a rich second generation. My father used to be his father's driver. Later, my father's back was not good, so he quit. In the bar. Tell me why you thought of looking for me today. Ju Tong raised his wine glass and looked at me with a smile. Do you know that you are now an internet celebrity? I frowned. What internet celebrity? He spit out a mouthful of wine from his mouth and scolded me. You haven't looked at your phone before. After that, he opened his phone for me to see and read it to me. The young man is righteous and took his paralyzed wife Bai Yueguang back to his home to take care of her. The affectionate man takes care of his paralyzed ex-boyfriend day and night for his wife. He wanted to read more, but I stopped him. Okay, what's the connection? I have been so busy recently that I haven't looked at my phone. It turns out that I have been hyped up like this on the internet. No wonder my colleagues look at me differently at work recently, but no one told me the reason. It turns out that it's because of this. Brother, to be honest, I really admire you. If it were me, I might not be able to do it. After Jutong finished speaking, he gave me a big thumbs up. I was just about to complain to him when a little girl suddenly appeared. Brother, are you here too? The little girl stood behind Jutong, with her hands on his shoulders. Before I could say anything, she pointed at me and asked Jutong, brother, this brother is. He is Shin Muhan. Jutong rubbed his eyebrows, with a helpless and irritated look on his face. When the little girl heard my name, she stretched her face towards me, opened her eyes and asked, Brother Muhan. I looked at Jutong and was stunned. Jutong reached out and patted the little girl's back, scolding her, Shue, don't make trouble. Ju Shui. This time it was my turn to be stunned. Ju Shui patted my shoulder casually. Well, you finally have an impression of me. I laughed. You have grown up so much. Ju Shui also laughed. You are only 2 years older than me, and you talk like you are so old. Ju Shui is Jutong's sister. I met her a few times when I was a child. I heard from Jutong that she went abroad recently. When did you come back from abroad? I asked. She grinned. You have a conscience and know that I went abroad. After that, she took out her mobile phone as a microphone and held it in front of me. Shin Muhan, now I am interviewing you about something, you have to tell the truth. May I ask, how do you tolerate your sister-in-law taking care of her ex? I was silent for a few minutes and pushed her mobile phone aside. This topic is not fun, change it. Okay, change it. Ju Shui looked at me mysteriously and asked solemnly, when will you divorce your sister-in-law? Jutong patted Ju Shui's head. Shue, what nonsense are you talking about? Ju Shui made a face at me and said mischievously, Brother Muhan, in fact, we girls are more accurate than you boys in love. If you don't believe it, just wait and see, we will get divorced sooner or later. After that, she smiled and turned away. Jutong smiled at me apologetically. She is like this, don't be surprised. I curled the corners of my lips. No. It was already 11:30 p.m. when we came out of the bar, and Jutong took a taxi and left first. I took out my phone and turned on the surveillance camera with a heavy heart. I calmed down and had the courage to look at my phone. If the last scene shocked me, this time the scene simply shocked me. I saw Song-yu in the picture actually sat up by himself. After looking around, he may have heard a sound and immediately lay down again. Then I saw Bai Shasha came in with a bowl, holding it in her mouth and feeding it into Song-yu's mouth. Is this how she usually feeds? I sat on a wooden chair beside the road, watching the few vehicles coming and going on the road, and my brain began to empty. I don't know how long I sat like this. A mobile phone rang, disturbing my rare tranquility. The call was from Bai Shasha. Husband, why haven't you gotten off work yet? It's almost 12 o'clock. Well, I'll go back right away. Now think about it, Song-yu has been in our house for almost half a year. The doctor asserted that he would recover in about a year. I guess he woke up a long time ago, but he was just pretending. When I came downstairs, I looked up and saw that the light in the bedroom that belonged to me and Bai Shasha was still on, and an unspeakable emotion surged in my heart. Since Song-yu came home, Bai Shasha has indeed changed a lot, but in the end she did not change for me. Everything she did was for Song-yu. I decided that today would be the day to expose Song-yu. Before entering the door, I took a long breath and then opened the door violently. Hearing the door open, Bai Shasha came out to greet me. Why are you working overtime so late today? Your body is your own. She reached out to take the coat I just took off, but I didn't let go. She was stunned. What's wrong? I threw the coat on the sofa, looked at Bai Shasha's bulging belly, closed my eyes, and slowly said, Divorce, Shasha, I'm too tired. Chapter 5. My words made Bai Shasha's body stiffen suddenly, and she asked in a panic, What's wrong? Why did you mention divorce again? Go to Song-yu's room. My voice was low and lower than the temperature outside. Bai Shasha followed me to Song-yu's bedroom without knowing why. It was the first time I stood in front of Song-yu and looked at him carefully. His breathing is steady, his face is ruddy, his skin is shiny, and his muscles show no signs of shrinking. Shasha, do you think he is still in a coma? As soon as I finished speaking, I saw Song Yu's body tremble violently. If you don't pay attention, you can't find it at all. Muhan, what's wrong with you today? Bai Shasha smelled the alcohol on me. Did you drink? I guess, I just asked her for a divorce, and her mind was not on the alcohol. It has nothing to do with my drinking, Shasha. If I say that Song Yu has woken up a long time ago, do you believe it? I stared at Song Yu on the bed. Bai Shasha wanted to push me out. You must have drunk too much and are talking nonsense. How could he wake up? Stay away from me. I will let you see with your own eyes how he deceived you today. After saying that, I stepped forward and grabbed Song Yu's neck and lifted him up. Bai Shasha stepped forward desperately to stop me. Muhan, let him go, hurry up. Looking at Song Yu in my hand, he looked like he was dead, not moving, letting me control him, pretending to be so real. I suddenly put him on the bed again. Bai Shasha suddenly slapped me at this time. Shin Muhan, that's enough, drink some wine. Why are you playing crazy with him? Shasha, he is really awake, why don't you believe me? It seems that I have to take out the surveillance to let her see it with her own eyes. I turned on the surveillance on my phone. Originally, I wanted to give him a chance to confess on his own initiative, but now it seems that you won't cry until you see the coffin. I took out my phone and played the surveillance of the past few days. Of course, there are also videos of Bai Shasha on Song Yu's bed, and videos of mouth-to-mouth feeding, and finally the video of Song Yu sitting up. You actually secretly installed surveillance. Bai Shasha took a few steps back with a pale face. So, you never believed me. I installed surveillance to see how Song Yu recovered, but I didn't expect that you would do such a thing behind his back. You still have the nerve to ask me to believe you? Bai Shasha, if I'm not mistaken, you just want to learn from the ancient Wuziqian and let two men serve one woman, right? Bullshit. Shin Muhan, you really disappoint me. She had tears in her eyes, then turned her head to look at Song Yu. Her eyes began to become sharp. She walked towards Song Yu step by step, then bent down with effort to pick up the slippers on the ground, and slapped Song Yu in the face with both hands. You bastard, you lied to me so hard. I've been worrying about you day and night for the past 6 months, but you slept well enough. Bai Shasha cried, scolded, and beat him at the same time. Seeing that he couldn't pretend anymore, Song Yu reached out and grabbed the shoe from Bai Shasha's hand. Shasha, stop hitting me. Bai Shasha, who was hitting me hard, was stunned when she saw Song Yu really sitting up. After a long time, she murmured, Song Yu, have you really woken up a long time ago? Song Yu nodded. Yes, Shasha, listen to my explanation. I did all this because I love you too much. Love me? Bai Shasha sneered. You love me, so you will make me worry about you. You love me, so you will let me take care of you with a big belly. You love me, what have you done for me? I think you are here to torture me, right? Song Yu wanted to explain, but Bai Shasha rushed to the kitchen and got a kitchen knife, pointing it at Song Yu. Get out of my house, I don't want to see you again, never. Song Yu stretched out his hands. Okay, I'll go. Shasha, calm down, if not for me, you have to think about our children. Song Yu's words were like a bolt from the blue to me, deafening my ears, and it felt like there were thousands of bees buzzing in my head. Muhan, don't listen to his nonsense, the child is yours. Bai Shasha explained to me bitterly. I had never seen him before I got pregnant. Shin Muhan, if you are a man, give Shasha to me. Before Song Yu finished speaking, I punched him. You bastard, you are shameless, you cheated Shasha on me. I spent so much effort and money on you in the past 6 months, I will make you pay tenfold. Song Yu screamed in pain and quickly covered his nose. Blood flowed through his fingers. Bai Shasha approached Song Yu with a kitchen knife. If you don't leave, I will chop you. Song Yu smiled at me cunningly, then looked at Bai Shasha. Okay, I'll leave now, I'll go back and wait for you to divorce. Get out. Bai Shasha roared, watching Song Yu close the door with force, and fell to the ground dejectedly. I was too lazy to look at her, ready to pack up and leave here. But she reacted, holding my legs tightly with both hands, begging with tears, Muhan, don't go, what should I do if you leave? Shasha, in the past 3 years, I have spoiled you, loved you, and held you, but it does not mean that you can trample on my dignity at will. Go out and ask, which man can tolerate his wife's white moonlight living in the house? The reason why I agreed to let Song Yu live in is that I don't want to see you embarrassed, plus you are pregnant, I don't want you to live so hard, so I endured the humiliation and agreed to your unreasonable request. But do you know? I don't dare to look up at people when I go out, because the green hat on my head is too big, it's so big that it blocks my sight. I pushed her away and prepared to leave her. As for the child in her belly, even if it's mine, I don't want it anymore. Just as I pushed the door open and left, Bai Shasha howled in pain, "Muhan, save me, hurry." I was startled and ran to Bai Shasha, and saw her holding her stomach and howling in pain. "Quick, take me to the hospital." Without time to think, I picked her up, ran to the garage, and ran straight to the hospital. "Shasha, hold on, we'll be there soon." I comforted her while driving. We arrived at the hospital soon, and I ran to the hospital lobby with her in my arms. Doctor, hurry, my wife is about to give birth." The doctor and nurse on duty quickly pushed my wife into the emergency room. At this time, my legs collapsed to the ground, I had no strength at all, my brain was blank, and my eyes stared at the emergency room. I don't know how long it took, the door of the emergency room was opened. I seemed to have strength again, and hurriedly asked the doctor, "How is my wife?" "The adults and children are safe, the child is not yet a month old, and needs to be put in an incubator for observation." I finally breathed a sigh of relief, as long as she is fine. At this time, I took out my cell phone, found Bai Shasha's mother's phone number, and called her. "Mom, Shasha has given birth, please come to the hospital to help take care of her." After that, I hung up the phone, sent the address to her mother, and left the hospital directly. I took my luggage back to my parents' house, and after explaining the situation, my parents did not blame me, but supported my divorce. A week later, I went to the hospital with a lawyer to find Bai Shasha. The lawyer handed her the divorce agreement. "Ms. Bai, please take a look. If you have no objection, please sign it." She took the pen from the lawyer's hand and looked at me deeply. "Do you really have to get a divorce?" Chapter 6. I nodded, with a firm attitude. She said, "Okay." She signed her name immediately. I left, and she called me from behind. "Don't you really want to know whose child it is?" "It doesn't matter. If it's mine, I will pay for child support in the future." After that, I strode away. Half a year later, Joshua took me on blind dates everywhere. The first woman I met in the cafe was a doctor wearing glasses. During the conversation, I felt that both sides had a good impression. I was about to get up and see her off. Unexpectedly, as soon as she stood up, Bai Shasha suddenly appeared in front of us holding the child. She freed one hand, took out the remaining coffee on the table and splashed it on the doctor's face. "You are so shameless. This is the father of my child. Why are you still going on a blind date with him?" Just when I was about to reprimand Bai Shasha, the doctor slapped me in public. "You scumbag, liar, you have a wife and children, why are you still going on a blind date?" I just stayed where I was, but Bai Shasha stood aside and laughed. At this time, Joshua appeared. Seeing Bai Shasha, she stood in front of her angrily and yelled at her, "Are you sick? If you make trouble like this, when will Brother Muhan find a girlfriend?" Bai Shasha frowned and looked at Joshua in confusion. "Who are you?" Joshua suddenly took my arm intimately, proudly threw her a provocative look and said, "I am Brother Muhan's spare tire." Bai Shasha glanced at Joshua absent-mindedly, then looked at me coldly, and said in a low voice, "Without my permission, you are not allowed to go on a blind date again, otherwise, I will chop you and make you a vegetable like Song Yu." I haven't seen Bai Shasha for half a year since the divorce. After she gave birth to the child, she spent most of her time and energy on the child, but she didn't have the energy to dress up. When she appeared today, she was only wearing an apricot casual suit. I retracted my gaze, protected Joshua behind me without leaving a trace, and looked at her with a cold face again. "Bai Shasha, you and I are divorced. There is no relationship between us. I don't need your permission to do anything or meet anyone." Bai Shasha, who was furious at first, trembled suddenly when she heard what I said. "Shin Muhan, you are so cruel." Bai Shasha staggered back 2 steps, but the child in her arms suddenly couldn't stop crying. Wow. As the child cried, people in the cafe looked over. Some people were unhappy and couldn't help muttering, "Can you be quiet? Don't you have any self-awareness when taking care of the child? Others are busy with work. Look, that's a scumbag." Not only did he abandon his original wife, but he also found another girl for a blind date. TSK, it's incredible. Everyone has their own opinions. Bai Shasha glared at me fiercely, carefully reached out to pat the child's back, and coaxed the child while speaking softly. "Don't cry, Nyan Nyan, your mother is here." At this time, the discussion of the people around was getting louder and louder. He is really a scumbag who doesn't even care about his own child. I heard the slander of others clearly, but I was still indifferent. I never cared about what others thought of me. After all, my failed marriage had become a well-known joke long before this. Baishasha was still pretending to be gentle and comforting the baby in her arms. Baishasha, have you made enough trouble? Maybe my words stimulated Baishasha, she gritted her teeth tightly. Have I made enough trouble? Shinmuhan, why don't you think about what you have done in these days? Since Nyan Nyan was born, have you ever looked at her straight in the eye? Baishasha seemed to remember something. She put the crying child in the stroller and glanced at Ju Shui behind me. It's you? You have been deliberately instigating Shinmuhan to go on a blind date behind my back. If it weren't for you, our family wouldn't have gotten to this point. She picked up the coffee cup on the table and was about to rush towards Ju Shui. Baishasha is now almost crazy. She is completely different from the cold and unworldly iceberg beauty in my impression. I frowned and protected her behind me. Baishasha, this matter has nothing to do with Xiexue. This is what my parents wanted. Since Baishasha and I divorced, my parents first secretly rejoiced that Baishasha and I had cut off contact. But as the days passed, they were a little anxious. They were afraid that after the heavy blow of this relationship, I would no longer be interested in dating or even getting married and having children. Later, the two elders tried every means to instigate me to go on a blind date. After they retired, they had nothing to do, so they could only plant flowers and raise fish. Naturally, they envied their peers in the neighborhood for having grandchildren. And so, by chance, they met Ju Shui. The two elders simply handed my marriage to Ju Shui, and vowed to give her a big red envelope after the matter was settled. I knew that your family never liked me. Knowing that I gave birth to a girl, they intended to divorce me. After half a year, Baishasha's mouth became more and more powerful. She could actually turn black into white. Finally, Baishasha turned her head to look at the child in the stroller and promised the crying child very seriously. Nyan Nyan, no matter whether these people are willing to take responsibility or not, even if mom goes out to work alone, she will definitely take good care of you. Fortunately, Baishasha can say such words with righteous words. If Baishasha is willing to coax the child well, the child will not cry endlessly. The waitress of the cafe came a few steps closer with embarrassment. She first glanced at me, then cast her eyes on Baishasha in front of her. Hello, cafes generally require customers to keep quiet. Just now, after you made such a fuss, someone also complained. At this point, I clearly realized that Baishasha had brought her child to me to make trouble and had aroused public anger. I turned cold and said directly, Baishasha, if you have anything to say, go out and talk. Baishasha raised her head stubbornly and looked at me. Why? Why should I listen to you? Baishasha seemed to have remembered some big joke. She sneered and stared at me with extremely vicious eyes. Shinmuhan, you are so cruel and heartless as a father, and you don't plan to recognize your daughter, right? I don't recognize it. If this child is really my closest flesh and blood, why don't I recognize it? I'm afraid that in the end, I will raise the child with my own shit and urine, and then find out that the child is not mine. By then, I will become the old man next door who is laughed at by everyone. I have made this kind of mistake once, and I will never make it again. I don't want to continue to be in a mess. At the beginning, Sangyu kept saying that the child in your belly was his and he would be responsible for you. Now you don't want to find the child's biological father to take care of her? Why come to me? After a pause, I guessed Baishasha's intention and couldn't help but sneered. Baishasha, are you planning to let me take over? Chapter 7. Maybe it was because I pointed out the problem incisively. Baishasha's face flushed instantly. She was unwilling, and still stubbornly put the blame on me. Shinmuhan, you are just talking nonsense. You just know how to lie with your eyes open. Seeing this, Ju Shui really couldn't swallow this breath. She stepped forward and stared at Baishasha unceremoniously. Baishasha, you are really shameless. If I were you, I would be ashamed of doing such a crazy thing, so why would I shout everywhere? In the final analysis, this is all your problem. After all, this is between Baishasha and me. I don't want Ju Shui to be inexplicably involved in this mess. At this point, I put my hand on Ju Shui's shoulder. When I slowly raised my eyes and looked at Baishasha not far away, I just whispered, Xiexue, I will handle this matter myself. After saying that, I gently patted Ju Shui's shoulders twice to signal. When Bai Shasha saw how Zhu Shui and I got along, she was so angry that her blood boiled. She raised her hand high and wanted to slap Zhu Shui. "You bitch, who allowed you to seduce him?" I didn't react for a while, and watched Bai Shasha slap Zhu Shui in the face. Not to mention that I was extremely surprised, Zhu Shui, the person involved, was also a little dumbfounded. Par sounded crisp and loud. It was not until she felt the burning pain on her cheek that Zhu Shui realized the situation belatedly. I turned my head to look at Zhu Shui. The slap mark on her fair and tender face was particularly clear. I frowned and looked back at Bai Shasha, who was going crazy. "What hatred does Xiaoxue have against you? Why do you treat her like this?" Zhu Shui covered her cheeks, and the crystal tears in her eyes kept turning. She had been protected by her family since she was a child. How could she have been bullied so unscrupulously? Bai Shasha snorted disdainfully. "I hit you, so what?" She kept mocking me, obviously not taking me seriously. Zhu Shui had been kind enough to introduce me to a blind date, but now she was implicated by me and bullied by Bai Shasha. Of course, I couldn't swallow this breath. Xiaoxue is not someone you can bully casually. Bai Shasha heard my words clearly, but didn't care. "So what? Shen Muhan, do you really take yourself seriously? After all, it's because you are incompetent and can't even protect the people around you. Why are you blaming me now?" I thought that Bai Shasha deliberately came to interrupt my blind date because she couldn't forget me. But until now, I realized that Bai Shasha couldn't tolerate me living better than her. She was jealous and deliberately came to disrupt the situation. "Shen Muhan, I warn you, if you still have the courage to go on a blind date with others in the future, I will definitely make you pay for it." After saying this, Bai Shasha turned around and left with the stroller. The farce ended here. I didn't bother to pursue Bai Shasha's fault. Considering that Zhu Shui was beaten by Bai Shasha under my nose, I naturally felt guilty. "Xiaoxue, shall I take you to the hospital?" For a flower like Zhu Shui who grew up in a greenhouse, her family would carefully take care of her if she was scratched, let alone being slapped. Zhu Shui's eyes were slightly red, but she still waved her hand firmly. "Brother Muhan, I'm fine." Having said that, I also knew that Zhu Shui was the most beloved baby of the Zhu family. This incident was caused by me, so of course I had to take responsibility for it. Then, I specially sent Zhu Shui to the hospital for a checkup. When I confirmed that it was just a soft tissue contusion, I did not forget to ask the doctor to take more ointments to reduce swelling and relieve pain. After finishing the things at hand, I personally sent Zhu Shui home. When I was about to apologize to Zhu Tong, I accidentally learned that Zhu Tong was on a business trip, and Zhu Shui was the only one living at home. "Xiaoxue, if you need anything, just tell me." Bai Shasha is indeed unreasonable. "Don't worry, I will definitely find a chance to help you get justice. This matter must not be let go. I can tolerate Bai Shasha's nonsense in front of me. But Zhu Shui can't stand the slightest grievance." When I got home, it was already late at night. The two elders heard the sound of the door opening, and they all got up to check the situation, just in time to meet me at the door. "Muhan, you came back so late today. Did something happen?" My mother always worries about others. When she looked at me, her face was full of unstoppable worry and concern. I had no intention of making a big deal about this matter, nor did I want my parents to worry about it. At this moment, I couldn't help but purse my lips slightly, trying to make a big deal out of a small matter, and also trying to make a small matter out of a small matter as much as possible. "Actually, it's nothing, just a little thing, but now it's all resolved, don't worry about it, Mom and Dad." I pretended to be relaxed and finished my words. Just at this time, my father frowned again, and couldn't help asking, "Then Muhan, how was your blind date today? I heard from Xiaoxue that the doctor who was introduced to you this time is a doctor who works in the hospital. She is young and excellent, and she is a rare blind date partner. Everyone also said that if you miss this one, you can't find it even if you try your best." Because of the precedent of Bai Shasha, my parents now pay more and more attention to my emotional affairs, and they are also afraid that I will repeat the same mistakes. Look, every time Zhu Shui provides a blind date, the two elders always find ways to look through the blind date's personal information. "Dad, she's so good, of course she doesn't like me." I shook my head helplessly, and pushed my parents to the bedroom. "It's late at night, you should go to bed early. If there's nothing else, I have to go back to bed, and I have to get up early to go to work tomorrow." Fearing that the two elders would continue to nag, I thought about it and promised immediately, Mom and Dad, don't worry, even if this blind date doesn't work out, isn't there another one? Maybe the next one has better conditions, and she may like me. In the final analysis, I can only use this clumsy way to ease the worries and concerns in the hearts of the two elders. I can't tell by Shasha everything she has done without hesitation. This will not only fail to solve the problem, but will even make the two elders even angrier. Muhan, you said this. At this moment, my mother stared at me seriously and hurriedly tried to make amends. I made a promise to my best friend outside that I will definitely have grandchildren in my arms in the next 2 years. Please don't embarrass me. Yes, my parents never care about grandchildren or grandsons, and they don't have the old-fashioned concept of favoring boys over girls. They don't care about Baishasha's children, but they think that the children born by Baishasha are sung use flesh and blood. Chapter 8. The night before, I stayed up for most of the day, but I couldn't fall asleep. On the one hand, I was thinking about how to seek justice from Baishasha, and on the other hand, I was thinking about how to compensate Jushua as much as possible. After all, she was the most innocent. The next day at work, I was in a meeting, but suddenly I received a call from Baishasha. Shinmuhan, where are you? Baishasha on the other end of the phone was unquestionable, and didn't give me time to hesitate and think. I couldn't help but frown, turned around and looked at the company's senior executives and leaders in the conference room, and planned to hang up the phone. I'm in a meeting, you can talk later. As soon as I finished speaking, Baishasha threatened me again. Shinmuhan, I only give you this chance. If you don't plan to come to see me now, I will make you regret it for the rest of your life. Let me regret it for the rest of my life? I was stunned at first, a little bit unbelievable. But thinking back to what Baishasha had done over the years, I took a deep breath and tried my best to pretend that I didn't care. Baishasha, I don't have time to make trouble with you. After the divorce, my career was booming. The company's leaders valued me very much and intended to cultivate me. This fall, the head office planned to promote a deputy director from us. I naturally looked forward to performing well. What's more, I was able to handle the several projects that I was responsible for contacting and negotiating, and I was even more convinced that I could succeed. My career couldn't be ruined by Baishasha at this critical moment. Shinmuhan, do you remember what song you did when we got married? If you don't want me to make such a desperate choice like him, you'd better come here now. While speaking, Baishasha lowered her voice. Room 506, Building 3, Huajin Garden, Shinmuhan, you'd better come as soon as possible. After reporting her address, Baishasha hastily hung up the phone. I never thought that Baishasha would find ways to threaten me. If I don't go, Baishasha really makes a crazy decision. What should I do? I don't want to be a scapegoat, and I don't want to repeat the same mistakes. After struggling again and again, I took the initiative to return to the meeting room and told the leaders that there was something urgent at home, and I was afraid I had to go back first. Fortunately, the leaders were extremely open-minded. They nodded one after another, and even kept comforting me. If that's the case, then you go back to deal with your family affairs first, and you will be given half a day off in the afternoon. Perhaps remembering something, Shumingshi looked at me again. Is half a day enough? Shumingshi was the deputy general manager transferred from the head office. Although she was parachuted in, she knew everything about the company, big and small. Even my personal situation, Shumingshi has heard about it. Hearing this, I nodded hurriedly. Enough. Thank you, Vice President Shu. I just applied for a half-day vacation from the administrative department. Shumingshi not only approved the leave note directly, but also sent a message to show his concern for me. Xiaoshan, if there is anything at home that cannot be solved, you can also explain the situation to us, and then we will see if we can help you solve the problem. Shumingshi is a very good leader. I was deeply moved and replied with a thank you. Thank you, Vice President Shu, for your concern. If there is really something, I will definitely explain it as soon as possible. After the polite talk, I went straight to Huajin Garden. I arrived as scheduled, but saw that the door was ajar. Baishasha? Where are you? I don't know what Baishasha wants to do, but according to my understanding of her, Baishasha will never give up. Since she was able to threaten me regardless of everything, Baishasha must have already left herself a backup plan and a way out. Realizing this, I frowned and pushed the door open. Baishasha, what do you want to do? I gradually raised my voice when I spoke, intending to threaten. But I was still answered by silence. I don't know how long it has been, but there was a sudden noisy sound in the bedroom with the door closed. The next moment, the baby's cry became louder. I pushed the door open decisively and looked around, but I only saw a small baby on the bed. At this time, my head seemed to be hit. Wow! The child was still crying. It was not until I saw this scene with my own eyes that I realized that the reason why Baishasha threatened me was not because she wanted to get any corresponding benefits from me. On the contrary, Baishasha's method clearly wanted me to raise her daughter for her. When I thought that this child was the flesh and blood of Baishasha and Sangyu, I felt that everything was ridiculous. In the end, Baishasha and Sangyu, the parents, abandoned the child who was like a burden without hesitation. I laughed at myself and turned around to leave. It was at this moment that the child lying on the bed blinked his round eyes and cried, "Woo wow wow." I paused and couldn't help looking back. The little baby had stopped crying. She had gradually become well behaved, rolling her eyes and constantly looking at me in front of her, her face full of curiosity. I just felt that something in my heart suddenly softened. Although I hated Baishasha and Sangyu's decision and hated their collusion, the child was innocent after all. If I just stood by and watched, the child would probably starve to death in a day or two. Then, I will become the real culprit. Perhaps because she noticed that I was staring at her, the baby kept waving her two little pink fists, obviously wanting to be held. The child is innocent. I shouldn't be so cold and heartless. Realizing this, I couldn't help but reach out and hold the child carefully in my arms. In the past, I had never held such a small child, which made me a little nervous now, and I didn't know where to put my hands. After being picked up, the child blinked and suddenly laughed happily. It was this smile that completely changed my attitude. What a bullshit taker, what rumors, I don't care at all. This child is sweet and soft, and was abandoned by Baishasha. I can't just ignore it. At this moment, I even thought about it in a self-destructive way: take the child back to my parents to take care of him, so that they don't have to talk about having grandchildren every day. This can just pick up a ready-made one. It also saves trouble. I took a deep breath and packed all the boxes of baby supplies placed aside into the stroller. As for the child, I took it home directly. Chapter 9. When I brought the watery baby home, my parents' faces were full of disbelief, and they looked at each other. The next second, they looked me up and down at the same time. "Muhan, what do you mean? Where did this child come from?" At first, Baishasha had done many puzzling things, which also led to my parents not having a good impression of her. Now Baishasha has abandoned the child without hesitation, and even ignored it. I can't just watch the child starve to death alone. "Dad, Mom, this is actually Baishasha's child." As soon as I told them the origin of the baby, the two elders showed a little resistance without hesitation. "If you are really willing to keep this child by your side to take care of him, from now on I will treat you as a son who does not exist." My dad's expression was solemn and complicated. Not to mention that he was unwilling to accept it. Even my mother, who was always gentle and generous, maintained this attitude. "Muhan, it's not that Mom and Dad are intentionally slandering Baishasha. You and she should be the most familiar people to each other. Don't you know what she has done over the years?" After a pause, the two elders kept talking. "I don't agree to keep this child. Shin Muhan, if you have the courage to keep this child today, you two will get out together tomorrow." In comparison, my dad's attitude was more resolute. Because of his extreme anger, my dad couldn't hold back at this time and even planned to take action. Looking at the current situation, I really can't say anything. Looking at my parents who are so close, I can't help but sigh. Mom and Dad, this matter is actually a long story. In the final analysis, this incident was purely accidental. Baishasha deliberately threatened me with jumping off the building. If I really ignore it, if Baishasha really makes up her mind to jump off the building to commit suicide, then all the charges will be on me. I will naturally become a sinner. Baishasha threatened me with suicide, and when I rushed over, I found that Baishasha directly abandoned the child. I deliberately made it clear. The child was left alone in the bedroom. If I don't care, she might not even have a way to survive. Sure enough, when the two elders heard this statement I made on purpose, they looked at each other. "Are you telling the truth?" Of course I didn't mean to lie, and every word I said was the truth. Of course, I will never deceive you in this way. After a while, my mother took the initiative to put her hand on my father's arm. She gently shook her head to indicate, and persuaded him earnestly. Olshan, you don't need to force Muhan like this. He is already such an adult, and he must have his own ideas. After recovering from the shock, my mother tilted her head and glanced at me. Muhan, tell me, what do you think now? What do you think? When I first saw the child, I was eager to find Baishasha as soon as possible and return the child. It is precisely because Baishasha is extremely irresponsible to the child that I am really intolerable now, and I sincerely feel sorry for this innocent child. Mom and Dad, Baishasha's whereabouts are unknown now. We can take care of the child, but we should not sit idly by. I didn't intend to force my parents to help me look after the child. After thinking about it, I took a deep breath and told my thoughts. I plan to find time to hire a confinement nanny to look after the child. After finding Baishasha, we can talk about other things. This was my initial thought. When my father heard what I said, he was very angry. He pointed at me with a look of resentment and dissatisfaction on his face. Shinmuhan, you really want to piss me off to death. In fact, I knew in my heart that my decision was not properly discussed with my parents in advance. But my thoughts were also serious. In any case, I still haven't had time to do a DNA paternity test with this child. What if she is my closest flesh and blood? If this is the case, I am afraid I will regret it in the future. Now, my attitude is firm. Looking at my parents, I took a deep breath. Mom and Dad, I know you are unhappy about this, but I also know my limits. My father is still indignant. The reason why he said that was that he couldn't swallow this breath. It was Baishasha who betrayed moral ethics first, and after the divorce, Baishasha still came to the door from time to entangle. Dad also remembered these things clearly. Now that he knew that I was going to take care of Baishasha's daughter, he naturally disagreed. Do you have a sense of propriety? If you really have a sense of propriety, you wouldn't bring this child back without caring about anything. When he was extremely angry, Dad kept shaking his head. I also sighed. One thing is one thing, such a young child is always innocent, right? Dad, when I find Baishasha back, I won't keep this child with me anymore. Mom said she understood my decision. She nodded gently, with approval in her eyes. Muhan, just go to work with peace of mind, and Mom will help you take care of her during this time. Mom has always been extremely gentle, but in fact, our Shin family has always been ruled by Mom. As it was, my mother glanced at the people around her. Old Shin, stop talking. After saying this, my father, who was originally angry, calmed down. He looked at me with a slightly complicated look and turned his head away as if he was upset. I don't want to bother with you. After saying this, my father turned around and left. In this situation, I couldn't help but look up. My mother showed a calm smile and she tried to comfort her. Muhan, don't you know your father's temper? He is a typical person with a sharp tongue and a soft heart. Just stop for 2 days and it will be fine. After that, my mother walked directly to the stroller under my gaze. Maybe because of the tossing all the way, the child has fallen asleep now. Looking at Nyan Nyan lying in the stroller quietly and beautifully, the smile on my mother's face became more and more unconcealed. This child is really cute, chubby and watery. As she spoke, she couldn't help but reach out and touch the child's cheek. This time, Baishasha left behind not only the necessities of life for the child, but also the child's birth certificate. On the birth certificate, Baishasha named the child Shinyanyan. But for me now, coupled with what song you said before, I simply couldn't believe that this was my flesh and blood. Inadvertently, my mother saw the child's birth certificate. My mother took it out directly and opened it without hesitation. After taking a look, my mother frowned and asked with a little curiosity. Muhan, why is she called Shinyanyan? Chapter 10. In fact, at the beginning, this matter did surprise me a little. Song Yu once pointed out in a high-sounding manner that the child Baishasha was pregnant with was his flesh and blood. This also led to my unwillingness to believe Baishasha's words. Later, I resolutely proposed divorce to Baishasha. It was at this time that I saw the child's birth certificate, and the name Shinyanyan really moved me a little. Maybe it is to register the child as soon as possible. I lowered my eyes unnaturally and pretended to be nothing. Mom, I'm afraid I'll have to trouble you and my dad to take care of it more. Hearing me bring up this matter, my mother nodded without hesitation. Don't worry, I'll take care of this matter. Since I took the child back, My parents gradually changed from the initial look of disgust and rejection on their faces. Every time they saw the cute and well-behaved Shenyan lying in the stroller, my parents were always very happy. Even my stubborn father changed his attitude now. In addition to working on time every day, I also spent the rest of my time on Shenyan. Now that she has no mother to take care of her, I, as her adoptive father, should be more responsible. In this way, I didn't know that Ju Tong had returned from his business trip. After work, as soon as I got home, I took the child from my mother's arms. Shenyan's round eyes lit up. She kept saying, "Ya. Nyan is a very well-behaved child. Today, your father went out for a walk, and I was in a hurry to buy some ingredients for cooking ribs. She happened to fall asleep. I thought I would go and come back quickly, but I didn't expect that when I came back, the child would wake up." When I said this, my mother helped me hold Shenyan. She just opened her eyes and looked around, without crying or making a fuss. As if she remembered something, my mother looked at me again. "This is exactly the same as when you were a child." I was still a little surprised to hear my mother talking about my childhood. I didn't know how to answer for a while. "Your father used to be busy with work every day. I had to take care of you and do housework, but you were also sensible and sat in the stroller and wandered around by yourself." When talking about the past, my mother suddenly missed the past. To be honest, these were all things that happened a long time ago, and I really can't remember them. Looking at my mother, who was full of seriousness in front of me, I smiled shyly. "Mom, this happened a long time ago, it's a good thing you still remember it." At this time, Shenyan suddenly stretched out her chubby little hand to grab my hand. R. Hearing Shenyan's constant shouting, the corners of my lips slightly raised, and I smiled at the child. "Nyan is praised, you feel happy too, right? People are always double standard." In the beginning, I was not willing to treat the child born by Baishasha well. Chapter 11. At that time, I was immersed in the grief of Baishasha's derailment with Song Yu, and there was no way to accept the truth of the matter calmly. I even felt that I was wearing a green hat on my head, and I would definitely become a laughingstock in the future. But after spending 2 or 3 days with Shenyan, not only did I feel that this child was as soft as jade in my arms, but even my parents were extremely happy. Seeing that it was almost time to feed the baby, my mother reminded me. "When you make milk powder for Nyan, you must pay attention to the temperature. When you made milk for Nyan yesterday, the water temperature was a little hot." I nodded quickly and agreed directly. Okay, I know." Then, the child in my arms was taken away by my mother. After I finished making the milk, I watched my mother feed Shenyan with milk powder in detail, and I felt a sense of satisfaction inexplicably in my heart. Such a day is actually quite good. At this time, my father, who had been deliberately cold to me during this period, suddenly came out. He looked at me with an ambiguous look and said, "Muhan, come with me, I have something to tell you." In my eyes, my father is at least willing to talk to me. At least he is no longer always cold. I slowly breathed a sigh of relief and nodded, "Okay." The next second, my father ran to the study. Just as I was about to raise my footsteps and follow him, my mother suddenly reached out and pulled my arm, and she began to persuade me again with righteous words. "Muhan, you should also know your father's temper. If you follow his wishes in everything, he will not continue to be angry with you." I knew what my mother meant. In turn, I gently patted the back of my mother's hand and chuckled, "Mom, don't worry so much. It will be fine if Dad and I talk it out." In the study, my father had a gloomy face. He raised his head and looked at me from time to time, but because of the face, my father never took the initiative to speak out his intentions. "Dad, if you have anything to say, you might as well say it directly." I took this opportunity to go straight to the point. "If you still plan to send Nyan away, I won't agree." Hearing this, the father's expression gradually became solemn. He first took a deep breath, and finally deliberately said, "I don't expect you to send the child away now." After a pause, the father said again, "Muhan, I know you think the child is innocent, and you are willing to take care of the child, but have you ever thought about it? If Baishasha and Song Yu come back to fight for the child's custody, will you give it or not?" Dad considers things for a long time. I can actually guess what Dad means. As long as we get along with Shenyan for a long time, no matter how cold-blooded and ruthless a person is, he will eventually be moved by the child. After a long time, I am afraid that we will not be able to give up the child at all. Just because we are not Shin Nian Nian's closest relatives, we are not qualified to continue to fight for the child's custody. Besides, you still have to go on blind dates. People will be more or less unhappy when they know you are divorced. And you have such a child who has nothing to do with you. Who do you think will like you? Dad considered more. Every time he said something, he couldn't help looking at me. According to the current situation, I know Dad's good intentions very well, but I still choose to stick to my original choice. Dad, I understand what you mean, but no matter what, I can't sit idly by and watch Shin Nian Nian, who is still in her infancy. I directly stated my attitude and position. Besides, Shin Nian Nian is only 6 months old now, and she can't do without someone to take care of her. Chapter 12. After I naggingly told my dad about my various considerations, his expression gradually became complicated and heavy. Thinking back to what Mom said today, I couldn't help but hesitate. Glancing at my father's frowning brows, I coughed softly and blurted out, "Dad, I did hear from Mom today that Nian Nian is very similar to me when I was a child. What if Nian Nian is my child? Although I don't care what Bai Shasha wants to do, if this child is mine, she is the eldest granddaughter of our Shin family." At this point, I cleared my throat deliberately. If this is the case, can you bear to see Nian Nian suffer? Although my method is a bit risky. But in fact, when I told my father this idea, he was really moved now. He looked at me with an ambiguous look and did not say anything more. Seeing this, I slowly raised my head. "Dad, do you have anything else to do? I worked hard all day, and now I naturally want to hug the child and tease the well-behaved and sensible Nian Nian." After a pause, Dad stood up. "Muhan, let me be frank. Since your mom and I helped raise and take care of this child, no matter whose flesh and blood she is, now that she is surnamed Shin, she can only be the flesh and blood of our Shin family." Dad's attitude and concept on this matter are different from mine. I soon gradually reacted. "Okay, Dad, don't worry, I will definitely handle the relevant procedures as soon as possible, and then Bai Shasha will have no chance to come back and snatch the child from us. You know, in the 6 months since Bai Shasha and I divorced, I have never lacked child support. Not only did I pay the money on time every month, but I would occasionally ask my friends to help bring some imported milk powder. This can also be regarded as my sincerity to the child. I talked everything out with my dad, which simply means that Shin Nian Nian can stay naturally. She is a person with Dad's permission. No matter what happens in the future, or if there is any change, Shin Nian Nian will still be the child of our old Shin family. When I came to my senses and walked out of the study, I saw that my parents were busy taking care of Shin Nian Nian and had no time to cook. I took off my suit jacket and went straight into the kitchen. Speaking of which, this was all thanks to Bai Shasha. Because Shin Nian Nian was unwilling to cook, and even deliberately lied to me that she didn't know how to cook, I tried every means to learn various cooking skills before getting married. Cooking is a piece of cake for me. Looking at the vegetables and ribs that have been processed in the refrigerator, I simply changed the method. After blanching the ribs and pouring out the blood, I directly put them in the pot and stir-fried them with old rock sugar to make sugar color, and then stewed the ribs. This is also the sweet and sour ribs that my mother has always liked. It is because I like to eat corn rib soup that my mother always makes various dishes according to my preferences without hesitation. After making sweet and sour spare ribs, I simply fried a few side dishes. Smelling the fragrance and looking at the table full of delicious dishes, I couldn't help but feel a little proud. "Mom and Dad, wash your hands and come to eat." I untied my apron and planned to go see Shin Nian Nian. Seeing this, my parents were a little relieved. "You, a bastard, now know how to respect your parents." Dad was obviously still thinking about the things of the past 2 days. When he talked to me, his tone was still a little awkward. I couldn't help but laugh, and simply answered directly. "Mom and Dad, if you like to eat in the future, I will cook for you often." The warmth now is very satisfying to me. Chapter 13. I actually had a paranoid idea in my heart. It doesn't matter where Bai Shasha is now. As long as she doesn't come back and doesn't bother me anymore, I will be satisfied. While my parents were eating, I took care of Shin Nian Nian wholeheartedly. Shin Nian Nian is not only well-behaved and sensible, but also extremely smart. Her babbling appearance is really cute. Nian Nian is great. I chuckled and praised, but suddenly I heard the phone ring. The caller was Ju Tong. "Muhan, are you free now?" We brothers haven't met for a long time. Why don't you come out and sit with me now? What happened a few days ago made me feel guilty towards Zhu Shui. It was because Zhu Shui was considerate of me that she didn't spread the news that she was beaten. This also made me feel more guilty. Now that Zhu Tong has returned, I still plan to confess this matter to avoid Zhu Tong accidentally learning about this matter from others later, and instead blame me for concealing it intentionally. Okay, I'll go there now. Because I put all my thoughts on Shen Yan, these days, I almost live a straight line between 2 points. Speaking of which, I haven't seen Zhu Shui for a while. Send me the address. After hanging up the phone, I immediately explained the situation to my parents. You have to apologize to Sheshue. My mother has always liked Zhu Shui very much. Not to mention that my mother thinks Zhu Shui is smart and sensible. My father also admires girls like Zhu Shui very much. If it weren't for the fact that Zhu Shui and I are so different in terms of conditions, I would even doubt whether my parents would deliberately instigate me and Zhu Shui to be together. I know, Mom and Dad, don't worry, I know what's going on. When I arrived at the bar as agreed, Zhu Shui was sitting at the bar drinking sake, and Zhu Tong hadn't arrived yet. Sheshue, can you drink? Zhu Shui had just graduated not long ago, and in my eyes, she was still the naive little sister of the Zhu family. I reached out to grab the wine glass in Zhu Shui's hand. When she heard this, Zhu Shui couldn't help but look back at me. Brother Mu Han, I'm not a child anymore, why can't I drink? She pursed her lips slightly, and her small face was full of unconcealable irritation. It was obvious that Zhu Shui must have been angry. While speaking, Zhu Shui couldn't help but look at me more. Brother Mu Han, tell me something from the bottom of your heart. After you divorced by Shasha, did you really intend to cut off contact with her? Why did Zhu Shui suddenly ask this? I couldn't help but feel a little confused. Sheshue, what's wrong? Zhu Shui felt embarrassed at first, but when she thought of the situation she accidentally saw, she frowned and answered me frankly. Brother Mu Han, I didn't intend to hide it from you. I went to Jiao City to attend a class reunion 2 days ago, and I happened to meet Bai Shasha in the hotel. She was with Song Yu. How could she have the nerve to mess up and deliberately ruin your blind date with the girl when she was so entangled with Song Yu? In the final analysis, it was because Bai Shasha couldn't bear to see you live a good life. Chapter 14. At first I thought that Bai Shasha had really encountered something and she had no choice but to leave the child behind for the time being. But when I heard Zhu Shui's righteous words, how could I not understand the current situation? In the final analysis, Bai Shasha resolutely abandoned her own daughter in order to follow Song Yu. People like this are heartless. Brother Mu Han, you don't need to care about Bai Shasha's opinion at all. Now, Zhu Shui took the initiative to speak, trying to comfort me. This is also because when Bai Shasha came to make trouble on purpose a while ago, she intentionally and unscrupulously slandered me in front of my blind date. All these things piled up together, and in Zhu Shui's eyes, this naturally became the last straw that broke the camel's back. But just because I know Bai Shasha's character well, I also know that her methods are always endless. At this point, I have no intention of taking this matter to heart. Sheshue, don't think too much. I don't care about her attitude at all. Everything I said is indeed true. After all, nowadays, the only person I really care about is Shen Yan. After being comforted, Zhu Shui couldn't help but look at me again, and she suddenly said something for no reason. Brother Mu Han, I think you are a good person. Where can I find someone as gentle, considerate, and gentlemanly as you? After saying that, Zhu Shui stood up suddenly. She patted her chest and promised me solemnly. This is actually because Bai Shasha doesn't know how to cherish. Don't worry, I will continue to work hard in the future and try my best to find a more suitable blind date for you. I felt a little helpless for a moment. Recalling Shen Yan's situation, I still wanted to stop Zhu Shui's decision. I'm not really afraid that Bai Shasha will cause trouble again, but I'm now a divorced single father with a daughter, and I can't possibly drag down another girl. Sheshue, actually I have changed a lot recently. Before I could finish my words, Zhu Shui raised her head and looked at me. Brother Mu Han, what do you mean? What's wrong with you? When faced with Zhu Shui's curious and puzzled look, I was really at a loss and didn't know where to start for a moment. This is indeed a long story. Sheshue, why are you here too? When Zhu Tong rushed over, he didn't realize that Zhu Shui was also there. He leaned in closer and smelled it, and was immediately greeted by the irresistible smell of alcohol. When Zhu Tong inadvertently glanced at the empty wine bottle in front of Zhu Shui, he couldn't help but frown. Xie Shui, why did you sneak out to drink alone again? When Zhu Shui was caught red-handed by Zhu Tong, she felt a little embarrassed. She secretly looked up at me, with a pitiful look in her eyes, obviously hoping that I could stand up and say a few good words for her. At this point, I smiled helplessly. It's okay, Zhu Tong. Xie Shui didn't drink much when I came here just now. Upon hearing this, Zhu Tong naturally turned his attention to me. He still did not forget to say to Zhu Shui with a stern face, I will teach you a lesson when I get back. Chapter 15. Finally, Zhu Tong stopped his gaze on me. Mu-Han, there is something I don't know if you know the inside story. When he was halfway through his words, Zhu Tong frowned, his face full of a complicated and heavy expression. I am also a little curious and confused. What is it? Based on my understanding of Zhu Tong over the years, he has never been a cautious person. On the contrary, Zhu Tong has always been carefree and always says what he thinks. At this moment, the reason why Zhu Tong was so cautious again and again was probably because this matter had a great impact on me. Zhu Tong, if you have something to say, just say it directly. We have known each other for many years. Is there any need to beat around the bush now? When I finished speaking, Zhu Tong kept shaking his head. He sighed, and finally made things clear. Mu-Han, you should know that the daughter of the richest man in Zhao City has been pursuing Song Yu, right? I have heard about this matter. It was because Song Yu couldn't bear to leave Bai Shasha, and he didn't want to have any emotional involvement with the daughter of the richest man in Zhao City, that he finally chose to jump off the building without hesitation. This almost insane method was used to coerce Bai Shasha into his own hands. At that time, I heard about this from Song Yu's family. I am a little confused as to what is so extraordinary about Song Yu that he could attract Bai Shasha, the daughter of a famous family in Zhao City, and even more girls to revolve around him. After I recovered, I took a deep breath and asked. I know about this, what's wrong with that? At this moment, Zhu Tong let out a long sigh, and he finally spoke frankly. Mu-Han, I happened to run into Song Yu when I went on a business trip to Zhao City this time. Not only were Bai Shasha surrounding him, but even that young lady kept lowering her status for Song Yu. You really don't care about Bai Shasha and Song Yu. In fact, when Zhu Tong saw all this and kept it in mind, he kept standing up for me. Recalling Bai Shasha's intentional attempt to disrupt the situation, Zhu Tong spoke to me impatiently. Bai Shasha went to great lengths to disrupt your blind date, but when you messed up everything, she ran away as the culprit. She has a good plan. After Zhu Tong told me everything clearly, I quickly realized the real purpose of Zhu Tong's meeting with me today. He wanted to test whether I still had feelings for Bai Shasha. You know, when I was with Bai Shasha, I regarded her as a treasure in the world and took care of her meticulously all the time. Zhu Tong, I'm telling you the truth. I absolutely cannot tolerate Bai Shasha and Song Yu continuing to collude with each other in front of me. But if they are not in front of me, whatever they want to do or what their intentions are has nothing to do with me. I spoke decisively and expressed what was on my mind. Zhu Tong and Zhu Shui looked over at the same time, and there was a hint of surprise and unexpectedness in their eyes. Since you've already said it, I'm willing to believe you this time. After Zhu Tong finished speaking, he reached out and patted my shoulder. You really are worthy of being my good buddy. I knew you would not be so discouraged by this. Zhu Shui also chuckled and nodded. Brother Mu-Han, only in this way can you truly walk out of the shadow of the past. Don't worry, Brother Mu-Han, I will take care of your blind date. Whether it is Zhu Tong or Zhu Shui, the two Zhu siblings are very kind to me from the bottom of their hearts. Bai Shasha bullied Zhu Shui, and I had no intention of defending her. Zhu Tong, I have to apologize to you. I took a deep breath and told the whole story. When Xie Shui accompanied me to a blind date a while ago, we ran into Bai Shasha. She got angry and slapped Xie Shui in the face. Chapter 16. When Zhu Tong heard what I said clearly, he immediately turned his head to look at Zhu Shui, who was drunk in front of him, and then quickly reached out and held Zhu Shui's arm. Zhu Tong dragged Zhu Shui to his side. He still couldn't help frowning. He looked at Zhu Shui, looking her up and down. Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? The Zhu family loves their daughter Zhu Shui the most. When Zhu Tong, as her brother, learned that Zhu Shui was bullied, he naturally couldn't swallow this humiliation. Looking at Zhu Tong's constantly scrutinizing gaze, Zhu Shui curled her lips unnaturally, and she took the opportunity to break free from Ju Tong's big hand. Brother, this happened so long ago. If you ask me now, I'm sure I don't feel uncomfortable anywhere. Ju Shui shook her head helplessly. That won't do. Ju Tong was furious, his face gloomy. Bai Shasha has the guts to bully you like this, he must think you have no one behind you. No matter what, we can't just let this go. Seeing Ju Tong's extremely angry look, I immediately stood up and took the initiative to apologize. Ju Tong, this is my fault. If it weren't for me, Xie Xue wouldn't have been bullied by Bai Shasha. When Ju Tong heard this, his movements froze for a moment. After thinking for a while, Ju Tong looked at me with an ambiguous look in his eyes. Mu Han, I trust you, so I let Xie Xue associate with you, and even let Xie Xue introduce you to blind dates. When he said this, Ju Tong's expression became more complicated, but now that this has happened, you have no intention of taking care of. I understand what Ju Tong means. The incident happened suddenly and I didn't expect Bai Shasha to attack Ju Shui. Come to think of it, this was indeed my negligence. Ju Tong, this is my problem. Facing Ju Tong's criticism, I have no intention of shirking responsibility at all. Now I stand up directly. Ju Tong, tell me what to do next. I have no problem with it. I want to make up for my mistakes as much as possible. Just at this moment, Ju Shui grabbed Ju Tong's sleeve without saying a word. Brother, it was Brother Mu Han who took me to the hospital for a checkup. It wasn't a big deal. It was just swollen for 2 days, but it's all healed now. Ju Shui kept pulling at Ju Tong's sleeves, trying to make Ju Tong calm down his anger. Ju Tongqi was so angry that he didn't even fight. He felt that I failed to take good care of Ju Shui, but also felt that Ju Shui was protecting me without any scruples, and he felt resentful inside. I'll settle this account with you later. Ju Shui pursed her lips and blurted out. Brother, I am standing right in front of you now, right? There is no need for us to continue to dwell on the past, right? The current situation is very strange. While Ju Tong was criticizing my problems, he was also very disappointed with me, thinking that Ju Shui was obviously betraying him by always protecting me. Ju Shui kept pulling Ju Tong, trying to make a big thing small, or a small thing nothing. Now I am caught between the Ju brother and sister. Mu Han, what do you think we should do about this matter? Brother Mu Han, please come and settle the matter with my brother. This is just a trivial matter. Why keep making a fuss? Ju Tong and Ju Shui blurted out the words almost at the same time. I couldn't help but reach out and rub my eyebrows. After thinking for a moment, I took the initiative to speak directly and stated my position. Chapter 17. It is indeed a method to make a big thing small and a small thing disappear, but Xie Xue, you were injured because of me after all. I can't just ignore it. What's more, the person Bai Shasha is really targeting is me. In other words, Ju Shui somehow managed to save me from disaster. Perhaps because I spoke frankly and explained everything clearly, Ju Tong's emotions gradually stabilized. He snorted and muttered at me. Thank goodness you still have some self-awareness. I owe Ju Shui something, and I desperately hope to take this opportunity to do something that is due to her to make up for it. The most embarrassed was Ju Shui. She kept waving her hands, with a hint of embarrassment on her little face. Brother Mu Han, you don't have to be like this. Just at this moment, Ju Tong spoke first. Since you said so, then Mu Han, I will not be polite to you. As he spoke, Ju Tong deliberately cleared his throat and said, Xie Xue has a report recently and she has to go to Shenzhou City. I am worried about her going alone. You'd better take the time to accompany her. To me, it's not a big deal. Besides, Shenzhou City is not far from here, and the round-trip drive only takes 3 or 4 hours. No problem, leave it to me. I promised solemnly. Xie Xue, are you free this weekend? Can we go to Shenzhou City on the weekend? The reason I said this is, of course, because I am afraid that it will delay the work and important matters at hand. Although the company's leaders have always been nice to me, I should not rely on their kindness to act recklessly. Ju Shui showed a charming smile on her face and answered directly. Of course. After finishing speaking, Ju Shui couldn't help laughing, and then she started to tease me. Brother Mu Han, you can go with me, which will make my mission half successful. If I really had such ability, it would be really amazing. After agreeing to Ju Tong's request, seeing that it was getting late, I simply suggested giving them a ride. After all, Zhu Shui and Zhu Tong had both been drinking, and it was not convenient for them to take a taxi back. Besides, I came here by car and just stopped by on the way. Shall I take you back? When Zhu Tong heard me bring this up, he paused in his drinking. He obviously wanted to stay a little longer. Zhu Shui immediately reached out and grabbed Zhu Tong's arm, forcing her brother to stand up. When she turned her head to look at me, Zhu Shui chuckled and said, "Okay, then thank you, Brother Muhan." While sitting in the car, Zhu Shui seemed to remember something. She couldn't help but muttered, "Actually, I also find it a bit strange. Why did Bai Shasha run so far alone to entangle Song Yu? Doesn't she have a child? Could it be that Bai Shasha has disregarded even her own flesh and blood for the sake of so-called love?" She said several sentences in a row. Zhu Tong disagreed. People like Bai Shasha will do anything to achieve their goals. Muhan suffered a great loss because of her. Precisely because I am familiar enough with the Zhu siblings, I also know that they have no ill intentions at all, but are instead standing up for me. They are curious about something, but I actually know the answer. Along the way, I was hesitant and didn't know where to start. I was even more afraid that these two stubborn siblings would come to my house and insist on sending the child away. Chapter 18. Perhaps he noticed that my expression was a little unusual. Zhu Tong looked at me deliberately and kept sizing me up. "Muhan, I always feel like something is wrong with you today." After saying that, Zhu Tong came closer and looked at me carefully. "I do feel a little guilty. After all, the fact that I took Shen Niannian in was something that was simply unspeakable. I was also afraid that this matter would be exposed and Zhu Tong would be extremely angry with me. What could be wrong with me? I laughed it off and tried to get away with it. Just at this moment, Zhu Shui, who was sitting in the back seat, couldn't help but ask, "Brother Muhan, why do you have several cans of baby formula here? And imported baby products?" It was this sentence that made me feel a little embarrassed. No one knows me better than my good brother Zhu Tong. He heard what Zhu Shui said, and then recalled what he had seen a while ago, and quickly realized what was going on. "Chen Muhan, tell me the truth, where is Bai Shasha's child now? Did you take him away?" Zhu Tong blurted out the question without hesitation, frowning tightly as he questioned me. "Chen Muhan, are you not going to save your own face?" I didn't think of it that seriously. Seeing the traffic light at the intersection ahead, I stopped and waited as usual. Zhu Tong was still mumbling something in my ear. "No matter what, the child is the flesh and blood of Bai Shasha and Song Yu. The two of them as parents do not care about the child, but you, a victim, are the one raising the child. How can this be justified?" Because I didn't answer for a long time, Zhu Tong couldn't help shaking his head and said, "Chen Muhan, I really think you must have been kicked in the head by a donkey to keep the child willingly." At first Zhu Shui was also confused and couldn't understand what I did. "Brother Muhan, just like my brother said, why do you need to do this? That child has nothing to do with you, you don't need to do this." When Zhu Tong's words became more and more serious, Zhu Shui couldn't help but push Zhu Tong's shoulder. "Brother, please stop talking. I know what's going on." The reason why Zhu Tong and Zhu Shui were so angry and didn't understand my actions was because they felt that Bai Shasha's daughter was a useless burden to me. I thought so at first. But after a short time together, I not only look forward to Shen Niannian being my biological daughter, but my parents also like Shen Niannian. They also loved Shen Niannian more and more. If I really were asked to send Shen Niannian away now, let alone that I was reluctant to make such a decision, my parents would definitely be the first to disagree. After a long while, I spoke softly. "Go to my house first, and you'll know why." Upon hearing this, Zhu Tong and Zhu Shui stopped talking abruptly. It was around 10 o'clock in the evening when I took Zhu Tong and Zhu Shui home. Mom and Dad were still sitting on the sofa coaxing Shen Niannian to sleep. But the little baby just blinked her eyes and grinned, refusing to close her eyes and fall asleep. This was the scene that the Zhu siblings saw when they arrived. I walked straight up to her and said, "Mom, let me hold you." As I spoke, I took the child from my mother's arms. Just at this moment, my parents noticed Zhu Tong and Zhu Shui who had come specially. Chapter 19. The two old men smiled at each other and immediately started greeting each other. "Atong, Xiao Shui, come over here and sit down to talk. I'll go cut some fruit for you." When I first brought Shen Niannian back home, I didn't know how to take care of a child, and I even felt a heavy blow. But during this time, as we got along better day by day, I gradually became more familiar with more skills and methods of taking care of children. Now, coaxing Chen Nyan Nyan to sleep is easy as pie. Be good, Nyan Nyan, let's go to bed. I intentionally lowered my voice when I spoke. Ju Tong and Ju Shui on the side looked at me from time to time. They looked at each other, and were both amazed at my level of proficiency. Brother Mu Han, when did you take this child back? Ju Shui couldn't help but ask. Even Ju Tong couldn't help frowning. Chen Mu Han, do you know what you are doing? This child actually has nothing to do with you. You are just wasting your time and energy. I understand their concerns and worries. Now, I didn't answer immediately, but just tried my best to coax Shen Nyan Nyan to sleep. As it turned out, Shen Nyan Nyan had been sleepy for a long time. I whispered to calm the child down and patted her gently twice. Shen Nyan Nyan in the cradle soon fell asleep. At this time, my parents came over with some fruits. Seeing that Shen Nyan Nyan had fallen asleep, my mother couldn't help but smile. As expected, Nyan Nyan is still closest to you. Now that you are back, she can sleep peacefully. Finally, the mother noticed that Ju Tong and Ju Shui both had stern faces. She carefully took the children and said something along their way. Tong, Xie Shui, if you have anything to say, just talk to Mu Han slowly. The child has fallen asleep, so let's take her back to her room to rest first. Although Ju Tong was dissatisfied with my behavior, he was extremely respectful of my parents' attitude. Okay, auntie, good night. After his parents entered the bedroom, Ju Tong couldn't help frowning. Chen Mu Han, it's not that I want to talk about you. Your mind is not clear right now, and I don't intend to give you any long speech. Perhaps in Ju Tong's eyes, this was a decision I made in a confused state. But in fact, I have never regretted it for a moment. During this period of time, because of taking care of Shen Nyan Nyan, I did feel a little overwhelmed, but even so, I never regretted it. On the contrary, I am very satisfied with my current life. Ju Tong, you probably can't understand how I feel. I slowly breathed a sigh of relief and told him my thoughts anyway. When I was working a while ago, I really put my heart and soul into it. I was so busy every day that I couldn't think about anything else. Ever since Nyan Nyan was brought back, I seem to have new expectations and hopes every day. Even my parents have accepted Nyan Nyan's existence. This child, Nyan Nyan, means a lot to me. This was the first time I opened my heart and revealed my feelings to Ju Tong. Ju Shui, who was somewhat confused at first, was now deeply moved. She gently raised her hand to pull Ju Tong's sleeve and whispered something. Brother, I can actually understand Brother Mu Han's state of mind. It's like saying that Brother Mu Han used to think that nothing was interesting, but after having this child, Brother Mu Han has new hope for life. If that's the case, I don't think there's any need for us to argue about whether Nyan Nyan should stay or go. After a pause, Ju Shui smiled. If Nyan Nyan is so important to Brother Mu Han, then we should respect Brother Mu Han's decision. Chapter 20. As I said, ever since Bai Shasha and I divorced, I have been devastated by the fact that Bai Shasha cheated on me with Song Yu. Although no one came up to me and said anything behind my back, I still remember clearly the strange looks they gave me. In order to forget those things as soon as possible, I began to increase my workload and devote myself to various kinds of work. I thought that once I got busy, I would forget everything. But this method is of no use. Whenever it is late at night and everyone is asleep, I still toss and turn and can't fall asleep, let alone accept everything calmly. Recalling all these situations, my heart becomes heavier. But since Shen Nyan Nyan suddenly appeared, I have new expectations for life and regained hope. Shen Nyan Nyan's existence is of great significance. Brother Mu Han, can you tell me how Nyan Nyan was sent here by Bai Shasha? Ju Shui was very confused about this matter. I explained the cause and effect reasons simply and clearly. Bai Shasha threatened me that if I didn't go see her, she would jump off the building and commit suicide, making me regret it for the rest of my life. But when I got there, I realized that this was all Bai Shasha had carefully planned. She was not there, only the child was left. I can't just ignore my child, right? If I hadn't brought Nyan Nyan back, I'm afraid she wouldn't have survived. I have witnessed Bai Shasha's cruelty and ruthlessness. Precisely because she was so cruel as to abandon Shen Nyan Nyan, I knew better than anyone that Bai Shasha would never stay and watch me take Shen Nyan Nyan away. She never leaves herself any room for retreat. It was so in the past and it is still so now. Bai Shasha is really cruel. Zhu Shui couldn't help but frown slightly, her little face full of a solemn look. At this moment, Zhu Tong sighed, "You are really a fool. With an ex-wife like Bai Shasha, life won't be comfortable even after the divorce." I smiled nonchalantly and didn't take it to heart. Anyway, those things are in the past. I don't intend to bring them up again. Vaguely remembering something, I looked up at Zhu Tong again. "Tong Zhu, I heard that you have several lawyer friends who are skilled in their fields. Can you introduce them to them?" The reason why I brought up this matter was naturally because I was eager to snatch the custody of Shen Nian Nian. I used to care about whose biological child Shen Nian Nian was. But now, Shen Nian Nian's father doesn't love her and her mother doesn't care about her. I can't stop feeling distressed, and of course I want to take care of her in person. When he heard this, Zhu Tong suddenly realized what was going on. He frowned slightly, and his expression became more serious. "Muhan, have you really thought about it? This child is a burden to you. If this child is really the flesh and blood of Bai Shasha and Song Yu, are you planning to do something like a scapegoat who turns a deaf ear to the outside world? Have you ever thought about how others view you?" Zhu Tong spoke several sentences at once. He was obviously not satisfied with my approach and was eager to step forward and make a new decision for me. "Zhu Tong, I understand what you mean." I slowly breathed a sigh of relief and answered frankly, "I'm afraid I will never forget what Song Yu and Bai Shasha did in my life. But even if Shen Nian Nian is a burden, she is just a sweet burden to me. This is my first time being a father, and I don't want to give up halfway." Chapter 21. When I met Zhu Tong's gaze, my eyes were full of calmness and I didn't show any intention of retreating. After a long pause, Zhu Tong let out a long sigh. "I really can't do anything about you." Seeing that Zhu Tong was willing to give in, I also relaxed a little. As for Zhu Shui, she thought about it again and again, but still couldn't help but speak. "Brother Muhan, have you ever thought that if you continue to have a child, there may not be many girls willing to be with you in the future?" Halfway through her words, Zhu Shui showed a slightly embarrassed look on her face. She even couldn't help but start to suspect that this was a scheme carefully planned by Bai Shasha from the very beginning. Because I brought Shen Nian Nian back home and kept taking care of her, of course I had no time to go on any blind dates. Also, because I have a daughter, many girls of marriageable age would think that I am not the best choice. As time went by, my reputation became worse and worse, and Bai Shasha successfully destroyed all my marriages. "Brother Muhan, is there a possibility that Shen Nian Nian was sent to you by Bai Shasha on purpose, so that you would have no time to care about the blind date?" After Zhu Shui's speculation, she stated her thoughts truthfully. "But I don't care whether this is calculation or exploitation. I just urgently hope to be able to take the custody of Shen Nian Nian into my own hands. A mother like Bai Shasha who has neglected her duty has no right to compete with me for Shen Nian Nian. None of that matters anymore." When Zhu Tong understood my thoughts thoroughly, he sighed and finally gave me the lawyer's contact information. "This is Lawyer Su Yian, who is best at handling divorce cases. When the time comes, you can contact her yourself." I was naturally grateful. "Zhu Tong, thank you." Zhu Tong curled his lips, still a little embarrassed. "I'm not helping you just for your sake. In the end, I still feel that Nian Nian is too pitiful. I feel sorry for the child. Zhu Tong has always been tough on the outside but soft on the inside." I couldn't help laughing and nodded quickly. Yes, then I will thank you on behalf of Nian Nian." For the next 2 or 3 days, I went to work and back home as usual. The weekend is coming soon. I promised Zhu Tong in advance that I would do my best to help take care of Zhu Shui no matter what. I worked overtime for 2 or 3 days and managed to get everything arranged. I happened to have some free time on the weekend, so I accompanied Zhu Shui to Shenzhou City for an interview. Early in the morning, I drove to Zhu's house. Zhu Shui obviously didn't expect me to come so early. Perhaps because she had just woken up, Zhu Shui's little face still looked a little sleepy and tired. She was only wearing a cotton pajamas, with long hair draped over her shoulders. She had not done any makeup or made up, but she looked inexplicably well behaved. Zhu Shui looked at me in surprise. "Brother Muhan, you came so early." I chuckled and nodded. "Let's go early and come back early. To be honest, I'm really afraid that Shen Nian Nian can't leave me. It would be great if we could go today and come back today." Zhu Shui seemed to remember something and waved her hands quickly. "Brother Muhan, if you really can't spare the time, I can just take the train to Shenzhou City by myself. You don't have to listen to my brother and go to so much trouble to take the time to accompany me. Chapter 22. Seeing the shy and somewhat embarrassed look on Zhu Shue's face, I just chuckled and didn't take what she said to heart. Xie Xue, since I have already promised Zhu Tong this, I should follow the agreement at the beginning and do what I said. This is indeed the only thing I can do to make up to Zhu Shui. I don't know where Bai Shasha is now. I can't let Zhu Shui act as if nothing happened and not care that Bai Shasha slapped her. Brother Muhan, please wait for a moment. I'll go up and clean up. Zhu Shui was gone for half an hour. I was naturally not in a hurry. I just sat on the sofa and read the news. Precisely because this is the era of Internet Plus, I just randomly scrolled through a few messages and saw a series of entertainment news about Yu Minji, the daughter of the richest man in Zhao City, and Song Yu going in and out of various high-end places. When I saw this content, I couldn't help but pursed my lips slightly. To be honest, this matter has nothing to do with me. But somehow, I couldn't stop thinking of Bai Shasha again, and how she went to great lengths to pursue Song Yu. In the end, it was all a waste of effort. In the eyes of a phoenix man like Song Yu, Yu Minji is far more useful than Bai Shasha. Even so, Bai Shasha still worked hard for Song Yu without complaint. I really couldn't help but frown and mutter to myself in a low voice. Bai Shasha, what do you want to do? Half an hour later, Zhu Shui came over in a hurry. She smiled a little embarrassedly, and reached out to scratch her head embarrassedly. Brother Muhan, I'm sorry, I took up so much time. I didn't take it seriously, it's okay, let's go. Xianzhou City is not far from Qing City where we are. It just so happens that Xianzhou is currently a popular tourist city, so there are crowds of people everywhere and there are traffic jams. Fortunately, Zhu Shui's interview can be scheduled for Sunday morning. The interview time was changed and we arrived at the local 5-star hotel. Zhu Shui went to the bathroom first, so I simply sat in the rest area on the side, quietly waiting for her to come back and go through the check-in procedures together. I raised my head inadvertently and caught a glimpse of someone not far away. It's actually White Sand. A few days ago, Zhu Tong said that Bai Shasha ran to Zhao City to chase Song Yu, but how come she suddenly appeared in Xianzhou City at this time? I couldn't help but frown slightly. Thinking back to what Bai Shasha had done, I couldn't contain my anger and stood up suddenly. The next second, I raised my feet and walked over with big strides. Etc. Hearing my voice, Bai Shasha stopped. She had never thought that she would meet me by such a coincidence. Bai Shasha frowned as if she remembered something. She looked me up and down, her eyes filled with unconcealable anger. Chen Muhan, where is Nyan Nyan? In Bai Shasha's eyes, it is natural for me to take care of Shen Nyan, which is something I must do. But at this moment, there was no trace of Shen Nyan around me. Instead, Bai Shasha felt that I was cruel and heartless, abandoning Shen Nyan without caring about him. Chen Muhan, you didn't take Nyan Nyan back at all, did you? When Bai Shasha realized this situation, her blood boiled and she rushed towards me, reaching out to pull my collar. Chen Muhan, that's your own flesh and blood. If anything happens to Nyan Nyan, you'll be the murderer. Chapter 23. Bai Shasha was almost crazy at this time. Every word she said was filled with accusations of my problems. It was as if I had really done something outrageous. But in fact, the person who abandoned Shen Nyan without hesitation was Bai Shasha, her biological mother. She would do anything for the so-called Song Yu. I'm a murderer. Bai Shasha, have you ever thought that it was you who gave up everything for Song Yu, even abandoning your own daughter? You should be the culprit. I had a cold face and my eyes were full of sarcasm. Maybe it was because of my nonchalant attitude that completely infuriated Bai Shasha. She gritted her teeth and glared at me fiercely. Chen Muhan, I'm warning you, if anything happens to Nyan Nyan, I will make you pay with your life. Fortunately, Bai Shasha can now say such words with righteous indignation. I stayed where I was, still silent. To be honest, I didn't want to waste any more words with Bai Shasha. At the beginning, it was obvious that Bai Shasha disliked Shen Nyan as a burden. Now, he pretends to be extremely concerned about Shen Nyan and accuses me. If Bai Shasha really cared about Shen Nyan, why would she abandon the child regardless of everything? After all, Bai Shasha is just a facade. This was the scene Zhu Shui saw when she came back from the bathroom. My collar was torn by Bai Shasha, her face was full of rage, and she was accusing me fiercely. I remained indifferent from beginning to end. Chen Muhan, don't play dead. Bai Shasha still couldn't swallow this anger and wanted to reach out and scratch my face. You suddenly came to the hotel at this time. Could it be that you were involved with some questionable woman? Chen Muhan, Nyan Nyan can only have me as her mother. If you have the courage to find a second one, I will never let you go. Faced with Bai Shasha's coercion and threats, I couldn't help but sneer. You're lucky you still know that you are Shen Nyan Nyan's biological mother? I sneered and said, Bai Shasha, if you really care about her, you wouldn't do such a heartless thing. But you know clearly what you have done these days. I still remember that when I saw Shen Nyan Nyan, a baby still in swaddling clothes, lying on the bed in the bedroom, I felt unbelievable. But when I called Bai Shasha again, I found out that I had been blocked by the cruel and heartless Bai Shasha. Shen Nyan Nyan is my child who was born after 9 months of pregnancy and so many hardships. How could I not care about her? Bai Shasha looked at me coldly and said again. After all, I just asked you to help take care of her for a while. When I finish the things on hand, I will naturally go back and take Nyan Nyan home. In this way, I gradually understood Bai Shasha's intention. She didn't want to send Shen Nyan Nyan to me at all, but wanted to take advantage of the present moment to continue following Song Yu. When Song Yu changes his mind, Bai Shasha will of course go home with him, and then it will be natural to take Shen Nyan Nyan home. When I thought of this, the expression on my face became even uglier. Bai Shasha, whether Nyan Nyan stays or leaves is not something you can decide. No matter what decision Bai Shasha makes, she is always stubborn and will not follow my opinions and ideas. In the past, because Bai Shasha was my wife, I chose to respect and understand all her decisions. But the situation now is very different. Chapter 24. Inadvertently, Jushue saw Bai Shasha pulling my collar tightly. She walked over quickly and raised her hand to push Bai Shasha. What are you doing? As soon as Jushue appeared, Bai Shasha was immediately angered. At this moment, Bai Shasha snorted coldly and kept sighing. When she looked at me, her face was full of ridiculousness. Chen Muhan, Arshan Muhan, you really are a fickle person. How long have we been divorced? Not only did you go on a blind date with another woman, but now you're planning on checking into a hotel with a woman like her. I really misjudged you. Did you misjudge me? When I heard Bai Shasha's mocking words, I also sneered. After the divorce, the things between you and me have nothing to do with each other. If it weren't for the fact that you are the biological mother of Nyan Nyan's child, I wouldn't bother to waste my words with you. This is indeed my current attitude and view. As early as the beginning, when I saw with my own eyes Bai Shasha and Song Yu getting involved again, I was completely disappointed with Bai Shasha. I don't want to spend my time and energy on Bai Shasha again, and I don't want to continue carrying the pillar of shame. Perhaps realizing that I really didn't care, Bai Shasha glared at me fiercely and couldn't stop cursing. Well, Yushin Muhan, in the final analysis, you are a heartless man. No matter how Bai Shasha denounces now, or no matter how Bai Shasha views this matter, I choose to turn a deaf ear to it. Because I remained silent, Jushue couldn't bear to watch it anymore. She looked Bai Shasha up and down and said, Bai Shasha, do you really think of yourself as some great ex? Since you did something wrong to Brother Muhan, you should have considered your own consequences. You are still pestering me now. Don't you feel ashamed? Jushue always looks cute and smart in front of me. But this was also the first time I saw Jushue deliberately bullying others. I was stunned at first, as I had never seen Jushue's words be so powerful. Also, since you have chosen to abandon Shen Nyan Nyan, if we analyze the problem specifically at the legal level, you will not be qualified to fight with Brother Muhan for the custody of the child in the future. After saying this, Jushue turned around and looked at me. Brother Muhan, let's go check in. Upon hearing this, Bai Shasha was extremely dissatisfied. She rushed over without hesitation and stood between me and Jushue. Don't even think about letting it go. Chen Muhan, if you have the courage to betray me, I will make you regret it for the rest of your life. When I looked into Bai Shasha's eyes, I clearly noticed the raging anger in her eyes. Thinking back to the harsh words Bai Shasha had deliberately said, I couldn't help but purse my lips slightly. I'm not really afraid of Bai Shasha, but considering that Bai Shasha is almost crazy now, I don't want Jushue to be involved in danger because of me. Bai Shasha, you don't have to go to such great lengths to threaten me. I breathed a sigh of relief and glanced at her casually. Besides, there is nothing wrong between Shue and me, and it is impossible for anything unclear to happen. You'd better withdraw this unfounded speculation. When I said this, I glanced at Jushue. Xieshue is still a simple girl. Her reputation has always been excellent. You shouldn't ruin it so recklessly now. I don't know which of my words made Bai Shasha unhappy. Chapter 25. Bai Shasha smiled sarcastically, she is simple. Chen Muhan, you just don't know Taishan. Bai Shasha was once again openly belittling me. Just as she was about to continue talking about me, Bai Shasha's cell phone suddenly rang. Immediately afterwards, Bai Shasha pressed the answer button. I don't know what the person on the other end of the phone said. Bai Shasha stood up suddenly and left in a hurry. At this time, Bai Shasha didn't care about me and Zhu at all. Zhu couldn't help but be a little dumbfounded. She watched Bai Shasha's receding figure and couldn't help asking, Bai Shasha was so aggressive just now, why did she just leave after receiving a phone call? Maybe Zhu doesn't know the cause and effect of this, but that doesn't mean I'm ignorant. This matter has nothing to do with us, so don't think too much about it. I coughed softly, interrupting Zhu thoughts. Having said that, I immediately made clear the current situation. Xieshue, let's go. We still have to check into the hotel. Zhu came to her senses belatedly and quickly nodded in agreement, okay. In the past, Bai Shasha received a phone call on the day of our wedding and left hastily and anxiously. This is the incident that I still remember vividly. At that time, Bai Shasha didn't care about my face at all. She abandoned me regardless of everything just because she cared more about her first love, Song Yu. Bai Shasha must have received another call from Song Yu by now, and is too lazy to continue arguing with me. No matter in the past or now, Song Yu will always be the most important person in Bai Shasha's mind, and I am just a mistake. After completing the check-in procedures at the hotel, Zhu and I said goodbye in the corridor. Xieshue, go back and have a good rest tonight. I'll take you to the interview site tomorrow. When Zhu heard what I asked, she nodded slightly in response. Then I would like to thank Brother Muhan in advance. It's just a small thing that can be done with just a little effort, and I didn't take it seriously. It's okay, go back and rest. The night in Xianzhou City is very lively. I stood alone in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the dim lights outside, but I felt a sense of emptiness in my heart. Over the past few days, I have already gotten used to Shenyan Nyan. Every day before going to bed, I would deliberately tell Shenyan Nyan a story. But now Shenyan Nyan is not by my side, and at this moment, I toss and turn and can't fall asleep. The whole night was filled with confusion and I couldn't sleep. I got up early the next morning. Considering that Zhu probably hadn't woken up yet, I went to the restaurant downstairs and ordered 2 breakfasts. Maybe it was because we were enemies that I ran into Bai Shasha and Song Yu again. Song Yu's face looked inexplicably ugly, and Bai Shasha spoke to him from time to time, saying something. Because I was quite far away from them, I couldn't hear clearly the conversation between the 2 people. Do you really want to abandon me now? So that you can go and be with Yu Minji without hesitation? Bai Shasha frowned tightly, her face full of unconcealable sorrow. I have worked so hard to take care of you for such a long time. Even if I have no credit, I should have worked hard, right? Could it be that you have never seen the good in me? Chapter 26. At this moment, Song Yu stood up resolutely. He stared at Bai Shasha, thought for a moment, and then Song Yu tried to comfort her in the softest voice possible. Shasha, don't worry, I'll be back soon. Perhaps he remembered something again, and Song Yu did not forget to make a promise to Bai Shasha solemnly. Shasha, Song Yu, swear to heaven that I will never do anything to let you down in this life. When she heard this, Bai Shasha breathed a sigh of relief. Then I'll wait for you to come back. It wasn't that I meant to eavesdrop. It was precisely because Bai Shasha and Song Yu were completely unprepared that their voices became louder and louder. As luck would have it, I heard their conversation clearly. After Song Yu left in a hurry, I packed up the meal, naturally eager to leave. This will also prevent Bai Shasha from pestering me again. Now, I don't know where Bai Shasha noticed me from. She walked over hurriedly and grabbed my arm again. Chen Muhan, it's you again. You are following me on purpose, right? You were eavesdropping on us. Bai Shasha said several sentences at once, and each sentence was constantly blaming me for my problems. God is my witness, I have never thought of peeping or even eavesdropping. It's because the 2 of them didn't know how to find a quiet place to talk, but instead acted without restraint in public. Bai Shasha, don't think too much. I have no interest in your affairs. I directly shook off Baishashar's arm. Then, I took a few steps back without hesitation, and now I was intentionally keeping a certain distance from her. Baishashar, you are the ones who have no scruples and keep talking without restraint in front of everyone. Even if I heard it, how can you prove that I was eavesdropping? At this moment, the more I think about it, the more I feel that Baishashar's statement is ridiculous, and even her remarks are extremely absurd. Sure enough, when I made this matter clear, Baishashar's face gradually became uglier. She bit her lower lip hard, still feeling unwilling. Chen Muhan, you are simply making up excuses. Making a specious argument. I shrugged indifferently, not caring at all what Baishashar thought about this matter. It doesn't matter what you think, Baishashar. Since we have already severed our relationship, from now on you go your way and I go mine. Noticing Baishashar's frown, I coughed softly, cleared my throat, and said, of course, I still hope that you and I can keep to ourselves. At this time, Baishashar did not respond. I was too lazy to argue with her and just took the 2 meals back home. When I delivered breakfast to Zhu Shui's room door, I saw a beautiful girl walking out of the next room 1206. Her clothes and makeup are extremely gorgeous, and her big wavy hair is extremely eye-catching. I recognized her at just one glance. This beautiful girl is Yu Minji, the daughter of the richest man in Zhao City who had pursued Song Yu desperately in the entertainment news a while ago. When I saw her, I was indeed a little surprised and stunned. I never thought that Song Yu would commit the crime against the wind. Yu Minji is still here, but Song Yu would go to any lengths to secretly meet Baishashar. Because my gaze was too direct, it was a little abrupt. Chapter 27. Yu Minji stopped, frowned slightly in displeasure, and glanced at me. Why are you staring at me? A clear and loud female voice rang out, bringing me back to my senses belatedly. I couldn't help but look away and lowered my head slightly apologetically. I'm sorry, I was too offensive and even abrupt to you. Yu Minji kept looking me up and down, with a hint of scrutiny in her eyes. Do you know me? In this case, I had no intention of hiding the truth. Taking advantage of this opportunity, I answered calmly. Ms. Yu, to be honest, I have seen some gossip about you in the entertainment news. Yu Minji uttered, oh, softly, but didn't say anything more. Thinking back to the little things that happened between Baishashar and Song Yu, I couldn't help but hesitate. I didn't know whether I should take this opportunity to tell everything to prevent Yu Minji from being deceived. Yu Minji never liked greeting strangers, and was planning to leave at this time. It was precisely because I was a little hesitant and looked up from time to time that Yu Minji stopped. Do you have anything else to say? At this point, I have no intention of continuing to beat around the bush. Miss Yu, is this convenient for you? If you don't mind taking a moment, I do have something I want to tell you. It is human nature to take revenge for a slight. Of course, I haven't forgotten how Song Yu intervened in the normal life between Baishashar and me. I also remember clearly how Song Yu hooked up with Baishashar. Even these two people are entangled and are desperate to cheat on me. Each and every one of these things makes me hate it so much. You are a strange person. Yu Minji sighed, but did not refuse. Just tell me what you want to say. There's no need to beat around the bush. After getting Yu Minji's response, I slowly breathed a sigh of relief and simply explained the situation. Ms. Yu, this should be your business, and I, an outsider, should not continue to interfere. But I think you should also know that Song Yu has not only been deliberately keeping you in suspense for all this time, but he has also been having an unclear relationship with other people. The reason why Yu Minji cares so much about Song Yu is not just because he takes matters in his relationship seriously and passionately. She even felt that Song Yu was the only good man in the world. This is also the reason why Yu Minji initially took a fancy to Song Yu. But after hearing what Shen Muhan said, Yu Minji's face was full of disbelief. What did you say? In Yu Minji's eyes, this was probably a deliberate frame-up on my part. Song Yu can't be such a person. Yu Minji had a stern face, and the expression on her face became increasingly complicated. I slowly breathed a sigh of relief and still chose to tell the truth. Of course I have evidence. In this situation, I provided all the evidence and clues. In order to destroy the marriage between me and my ex-wife, Song Yu even chose to jump off the building at all costs, just to maintain the deep friendship between him and my ex-wife. He even declared to us that he jumped off the building just to show that he had unbreakable feelings for my ex-wife. In order to prevent Yu Minji from not believing me, the next second, I directly retrieved the surveillance videos that I had backed up before one by one. Of course, there are all these things that can prove that what I said is true. Chapter 28. Now, Yoo Min-ji gave me an ambiguous look, and she finally chose to take my phone. After looking through several backup surveillance videos, Yoo Min-ji frowned, her face full of unconcealable solemnity. After a while, Yoo Min-ji still maintained her initial composure. She suddenly raised her eyes, glanced at me, and asked, "Why are you telling me this?" In Yoo Min-ji's eyes, anyone who approaches her has ulterior motives. Therefore, my initiative to show my goodwill to her also had some intention. But in fact, I just don't want to see Yoo Min-ji being kept in the dark by Shasha and Song-yu from beginning to end. After all, she is innocent. Ms. Yu, the reason why I want to tell you this is because what they did is really unkind. Now, I can be said to be telling the truth. Yoo Min-ji pondered for a moment, and finally nodded slightly. I see. After saying these words, Yoo Min-ji walked away. But Yoo Min-ji's nonchalant attitude made me a little confused for a moment. I couldn't even guess what Yoo Min-ji was thinking. Before this, almost everyone knew that Song-yu had been pursued by the daughter of the richest man in Zhao City for a long time. But judging from the current situation, I am afraid that this matter may be a false report. As if she suddenly remembered something, Yoo Min-ji stopped and looked back at me casually. "Thank you for this." Yoo Min-ji thanked me suddenly for no apparent reason, which left me a little confused. I coughed softly and still answered by listening to the sound. "It's just a small favor." After Yoo Min-ji left, I went straight up and knocked on Zhu Shue's door. Because there was an interview needed in the morning, Zhu Shue got up early and has now packed everything. When she opened the door and saw me, she smiled brightly. "Brother Muhan, good morning." Hearing this, I chuckled. "Good morning, did you sleep well last night?" The Grand Hyatt Hotel is considered to be the best 5-star hotel in the area. Not only is its location excellent, but the surrounding environment is also very good. From the open-air balcony, you can also see all the surrounding scenery. Zhu Shue nodded at me and replied, "I slept well." As she spoke, Zhu Shue took 2 steps back, making some space for me, allowing me to enter the room smoothly. "Brother Muhan, when I went for an interview this morning, you didn't have to go out of your way to see me off in person." As she spoke, she naturally took the breakfast from my hand. "Isn't this your first time in Xianzhou City? You can also go around and take advantage of the weekend to relax. That being said, where can I go to hang out by myself?" I waved my hand casually, not taking Zhu Shue's words to heart. "I don't have any other plans in the morning, I'll go with you. Besides, I promised your brother myself that I would do my best to take good care of you no matter what, so that nothing could go wrong with you." After saying that, I reached out and rubbed Zhu Shue's head as usual. "Just be obedient and I'll be fine." It's because I have always treated Zhu Shue as my younger sister. Over time, I gradually forgot that I should pay attention to the differences between men and women in front of Zhu Shue and keep a certain distance from her. Before I noticed, the tips of Zhu Shue's ears turned slightly red. But soon, Zhu Shue regained her initial composure. She blinked at me and said, "I know." After eating and drinking, I personally took Zhu Shue to the local TV station. Chapter 29. Zhu Shue needed to conduct a special interview with a senior host of the TV station and write a report after returning. The interview lasted a total of 1.5 hours. I was sitting in the lounge outside at first, but unexpectedly, I had to leave because the TV station staff suddenly held an emergency meeting. At this time, I was indeed a bit aimless. I couldn't stay in the lounge and wait, but it wasn't always possible for me to wander around. After thinking it over, I decided to go to the parking lot first. Because a work permit is required to enter and exit the TV station's parking lot, I can only park my car in the underground parking garage of a nearby supermarket. I had just entered the underground parking garage through the elevator when I saw 2 people arguing not far away. That man was Song-yu. Even if he turned into ashes, I would still be able to recognize him at a glance. At this moment, Song-yu was pulling Yoo Min-ji's arm tightly, his face full of unconcealable grief and tension. "Min-ji, you must have misunderstood something." He kept talking, trying to explain. "Min-ji, this matter is definitely not what you imagined. I love you so much, and I will never do anything to let you down." Yoo Min-ji just glanced at Song-yu coldly, her face full of indifference. "Really?" Song-yu couldn't help feeling a little flustered. He nodded hurriedly and answered directly. Of course, Minji, my feelings for you are clear to all. No one can compare to your position in my heart. What a good thing. Heaven and earth can bear witness to this. When I heard these words with my own ears, I couldn't help but narrow my eyes slightly. It was this kind of Songyu who was once involved in my marriage. It was also Songyu who caused this 3-year relationship of mine to end in such a miserable way. It doesn't matter anymore. Minji raised her hand directly and pushed Songyu's hand away. Songyu, we are all adults now. There is no need for you to continue to pester me. Songyu simply couldn't accept her nonchalant attitude. It was in this situation that Minji continued to speak slowly. If you have someone you like, then I will let you go and let you pursue the girl you like. This is naturally the best choice. After saying this, Minji turned around and wanted to leave. But at this moment, Songyu was unwilling to let go. Minji, who told you these things? That person must be extremely jealous of our relationship and deliberately made trouble for us. Minji, you must not be instigated by others. Songyu kept trying to persuade Minji to change her mind. But Minji treated him coldly from beginning to end. Perhaps she was impatient. Minji shook off Songyu's arm without hesitation, and raised her eyes coldly and looked over. Songyu, have you said enough? Finally, Minji snorted coldly. I've shown you some mercy because of our previous relationship, but you just don't know what's good for you and want to take advantage of me. After hearing Minji's heart-piercing words, the smile on Songyu's face gradually became stiff. He clenched his fists tightly, but didn't have the courage to say anything more. Minji, I was really wronged. Minji didn't hesitate at all. She immediately got up and walked away. She doesn't care whether she is wronged or not. Chapter 30. At first I did stand aside, watching this little episode unfolding before my eyes with a nonchalant attitude. But because Minji's pace was so hurried, I really didn't react for a moment. The next second, Minji had already left Songyu and even walked towards me. Why are you here? Minji couldn't help but frown slightly and looked me up and down. This is really a long story. I smiled slightly awkwardly, no doubt wanting to take a few steps back. I was just passing by. At this moment, every word I say is true. But when Minji and I looked at each other, I could clearly see that Minji's eyes were full of suspicion and scrutiny. Helpless, I sighed softly. I'm not lying to you, I was just passing by. Although the credibility of this statement is very low. Just when I had no expectations, and even felt that Minji would regard me as someone with bad intentions. Just at this moment, Minji asked slowly. If my investigation is correct, you should be Shin Muhan, the ex-husband of Songyu's current girlfriend by Shasha. Minji actually went to investigate my situation. I came to my senses belatedly, still a little confused. You have investigated my situation thoroughly. Logically speaking, Minji and I have hardly ever had any dealings with each other, and there will be no possibility of further in-depth communication in the future. They are like two parallel lines. Although what you have produced is solid evidence, I still have to investigate it in advance to prevent you from having ulterior motives. This is also Minji's explanation. I came to my senses belatedly and felt a little embarrassed. Yes, I am indeed Shin Muhan. However, I do not agree with Minji's suggestion of using so many prefixes to name people. If possible, I still hope that Miss Yu can omit the previous address. I have nothing to do with them anymore. After a pause, I breathed a sigh of relief and emphasized it again. I am just me. I am definitely not by Shasher's ex-husband. When Minji, who had been silent all the time, heard this, she raised her eyebrows and a strange look flashed in her eyes. You are little different and seem like a weirdo. Am I a weirdo? I totally disagree with her statement. Miss Yu, did you misunderstand something? Minji shook her head gently, nothing. After saying that, Minji chuckled at me. But to be honest, you're quite interesting. Now, I really can't figure out Minji's thoughts, and naturally I think that Minji's series of behaviors from beginning to end are extremely strange. Ms. Yu. I had just opened my mouth when Minji took the initiative to say goodbye. I have something else to do. See you another day. In fact, in my eyes, it seems that I have no chance to meet a rich lady like Minji again. I didn't say much, just responded to Minji's words. See you later then. Minji had just left when Songyu came over. He glared at me with rage, finally understanding the situation. Chen Muhan, when did you hook up with Yu Minji? Song Yu immediately started to question. Looking at the furious Song Yu, I still didn't care at all. Chapter 31. Song Yu caused my marriage to fail, and I was even laughed at by everyone, becoming the topic of conversation after dinner. I still can't get over this hurdle. I met Yu Minji by chance, and it was natural for me to expose all the shameful things Song Yu had done, which could be considered as revenge. This is my business, it's none of your business. I blurted it out nonchalantly. I don't care what Song Yu thinks of me. After all, being able to ruin everything Song Yu had carefully planned was what I had always dreamed of. Upon hearing this, Song Yu was furious. He stared at me fiercely and swung his clenched fist directly at me. In the past, I didn't care how Bai Shasha treated me. You could even say that I allowed her to bully me. But even so, it doesn't mean that I have no ability to fight back. Song Yu, you were the first to attack me, so I fought back to protect myself. I sneered and took the lead in reaching out to grab Song Yu's wrist. I don't know what a grown man like Song Yu is doing. Not only is he timid and cowardly, he also doesn't have any courage as a man. I just raised my fist and Song Yu was so scared that he even closed his eyes and dared not face me. I thought you were very capable. I pushed Song Yu away. If I look at him again, I will find him dirty. At the same time, Song Yu breathed a sigh of relief. He pretended to be calm and stood up straight, and when he looked at me again, he still looked at me with sarcasm in his eyes. Chen Muhan, I thought you were so great and noble at first. After all, you are just a phoenix man who likes to live off women. Am I a phoenix man? I really admire Song Yu's ability to speak fluently. You have to know that just a second ago Song Yu was afraid of my fist and almost fell to the ground with his legs weak in fear. At this moment, Song Yu could bite the bullet and squeeze me. He is truly amazing. It is also a model of adaptability. Song Yu, you don't think that I revealed all your affairs just to get close to Yu Minji, do you? I raised my eyes and looked over nonchalantly. When he heard what I blurted out, Song Yu gritted his teeth in hatred. He still couldn't swallow this breath. Chen Muhan, Minji will never fancy someone like you who only uses despicable means. Just give up on this idea. It is absolutely impossible for someone like you to enter the Yu family. Before this, I knew very little about Minji's situation. But at this moment, Song Yu kept talking endlessly, which made me gradually understand Yu Minji's family background and situation. Yu Minji is the only daughter of the Yu family. She is the sole heir to the Yu group. Don't even think about using any shameful means to get close to Yu Minji. Even if Minji thinks you are a little different, Chairman Yu will never tolerate someone like you. Just wait and see. Song Yu spoke several sentences in a row. I narrowed my eyes slightly, and now wrote down everything Song Yu said. To be honest, I was able to learn about these situations easily thanks to Song Yu, who deliberately wanted to provoke me. If Song Yu could get really mad when I mentioned Yu Minji, I would naturally be happy to pretend to be mad at Song Yu behind Yu Minji's back. Song Yu, you have to think clearly. The person who was abandoned by Yu Minji without hesitation is you, not me. Besides, Minji cares about me so much now, she will definitely consider everything for me. It's not your place as an outsider to comment on what's going on between us. After saying that, I shrugged my shoulders and walked straight to my car. Chen Muhan, you really do whatever it takes to get attached to Minji. Chapter 32. Song Yu's extremely angry shouting and cursing behind him was still clear. To be honest, I don't care how Song Yu looks at me. After all, this matter was deliberately provoked by Song Yu. Now, I just followed his words and continued. But before I took 2 steps, I saw Yu Minji not far away, with her arms folded across her chest, staring at me with interest. I don't know what she heard. At this moment, Yu Minji raised her eyebrows when she looked at me. You are really different from what I imagined. After listening to Yu Minji's emotional words, I couldn't help but feel that my current situation is extremely embarrassing. After all, I just said those shameless words in order to irritate Song Yu. If I knew that Yu Minji hadn't gone far, I would never have taken advantage of this opportunity. Miss Yu, I'm afraid there is some misunderstanding here. I forced a laugh and said awkwardly, I just wanted to hit Song Yu, nothing else. This is indeed what I really think. Yu Minji walked towards me slowly, looking at me constantly. After a while, she took out a business card from her bag. I don't mean anything else, I just think you're pretty special. If you don't mind, maybe we can get to know each other. Just think of it as making a friend. Yu Minji's nonchalant attitude made me a little confused for a moment. But no matter what, I had no intention of rejecting Yu Minji's kindness. Then I'll keep it. As if she remembered something, Yu Minji suddenly stopped and praised sincerely, Shin Muhan, right. In my opinion, compared with Song Yu, you are many times smarter than him. When Yu Minji praised me in this way, I did feel a little embarrassed. But in the end, it's a compliment. Thank you. After leaving her business card, Yu Minji did not hesitate this time. She walked away without saying a word. I stayed alone in the parking garage and waited quietly. Fortunately, the interview with Zhu Shui went smoothly. After about an hour, Zhu Shui replied to my text message and came straight to where I was. Zhu Shui opened the passenger door, and just as she sat down, she smiled with joy. Brother Muhan, this interview went really well, and I got the exclusive first-hand information. I put Yu Minji's business card into the card slot on the side. When I turned to look at Zhu Shui, I felt happy for her sincerely. As long as it goes well, that's good. There are no other arrangements now, so I naturally plan to go back to Qingju City with Zhu Shui as soon as possible. I haven't seen Xiaobao for a day and a night, and I miss him constantly in my heart, and I am also concerned about Shen Yanyan's situation from time to time. I coughed softly, then looked up at Zhu Shui and said something tentatively. Xie Shui, shall we go back now? When Zhu Shui heard this, she couldn't help being a little surprised and stunned. Brother Muhan, there's no need for us to be so anxious, right? After thinking for a moment, Zhu Shui said, the success of the interview is largely due to you, Brother Muhan. Besides, Brother Muhan, you specially accompanied me on this trip, so I have to treat you to a nice meal as a thank you. Going back and wait. There's no need to rush. As she spoke, her face was filled with a charming smile. In this way, Zhu Shui didn't give me the right to make decisions at all. Chapter 33. I opened my mouth, feeling a little weird. But in the final analysis, this was Zhu Shui's kindness. If I rejected it without thinking, it would seem that I was too unkind. Taking this opportunity, I coughed softly. Well, let's go and come back quickly. Zhu Shui obviously made a big move. She specially booked a 5-star restaurant in the local area and even ordered a variety of exquisite dishes. When we arrived at the restaurant, I looked at the sumptuous meal on the table and couldn't help but be amazed. So much. Zhu Shui blinked her big dark eyes. When she looked at me, Zhu Shui smiled with her eyes curved. At this time, she nodded without hesitation. Of course, this can be considered as my celebration party. Although my brother is not here, Brother Muhan, you and he have the same status. If you are here, you will represent him. We might as well take this opportunity to celebrate properly. The celebration banquet was so sloppy that it seemed too simple. After I slowly sat down, I still couldn't help but speak. Let's celebrate properly when we get back. Zhu Shui nodded with a smile. Okay, Brother Muhan, you must come to our party when the time comes. I ate this meal very quickly. In the final analysis, what I really care about is Shen Yanyan. I don't know if Shen Yanyan cried or made a fuss under the care of her parents, and whether she drank milk on time. This is very important to me. It is precisely because of this situation that I can't help but wonder why Bai Shasha, the biological mother, can be so cruel and ignore her own daughter, Shen Yanyan. It was as if Shen Yanyan was a living burden, and Bai Shasha didn't care about her life or death at all. Zhu Shui looked up at me from time to time. On their way back, she couldn't help but ask me with concern. Brother Muhan, you seem to be worried. When I heard this, I didn't try to hide it. I haven't seen that kid Nyan Nyan for a long time, so I'm a little worried about her. As a man, he can't stop thinking about his children. If this kind of thing gets out, people will definitely laugh at you. But for me, I don't care about other people's eyes and looks at all. I just desperately hope to see Shen Yanyan. After hearing this, Zhu Shui came to her senses belatedly. She reached out and patted her head. A look of sudden realization appeared on her palm-sized face, and a look of annoyance appeared on it. Brother Muhan, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have forced you to run so far with me. Zhu Shui blames herself for this incident, which is not what I want to see. After all, I was the one who made the mistake first, and it was indeed me who did not try my best to protect Zhu Shui's safety. At this point, I quickly shook my head. Xiaoxue, don't think too much. I never thought of blaming Zhu Shui. Let's go back now. I spoke in a relaxed manner to soothe Zhu Shui's emotions. If I hadn't accompanied Zhu Shui to Shenzhou City, I probably wouldn't know Bai Shasha's whereabouts until now, let alone know that Bai Shasha had already been involved with Song Yu. Chapter 34. Due to this coincidence, it was natural for me to expose Song Yu's two timing affairs one by one, and inadvertently helped Yu Minji. After all, this is all destined. On their way back, the journey was smooth. I sent Zhu Shui back first, and then hurried home. But I never imagined that there would be a group of people gathered at the door of my house, talking to each other. Don't you know yet? The girl that Shen Muhan took away is our Song Yu's biological child. The person who spoke was Song Yu's mother Zhang Minute. A year or two ago, I met Zhang Minute in the hospital, and I knew that she was a big mouth and a powerful person. Now that everyone is here, I hope you can judge for me. Shen Muhan used despicable means to deceive and abduct our precious granddaughter. Do I have sufficient reason to take the child away? At this time, Zhang Minute deliberately guided everyone. The neighbors who gathered around looked at each other, and for a moment it was hard to tell what was right and what was bad. Could it be that this is really what Xiaoshan did? That shouldn't be the case. I remember clearly that Xiaoshan had already divorced his first wife a long time ago. How could he possibly hold someone else's child? Everyone has their own opinion and their attitudes are completely different. I heard that Bai Shasha was pregnant at that time, and the baby in her belly was not Muhan's biological child at all. Is this really true? Isn't this the little girl's grandmother? In the final analysis, it was Bai Shasha who cheated on Muhan, and he was kept in the dark the whole time. When I took a few steps closer, I could naturally hear clearly what everyone was talking about. I slowly breathed a sigh of relief and raised my eyes again to look at the people in front of me. Thank you for your concern for my little thing. I spoke slowly and calmly, interrupting the words that everyone was eager to say. Zhang Minute obviously didn't expect that I would suddenly appear at this time. She was stunned at first. But in just a moment, Zhang Minute had returned to her original arrogant attitude. She kept looking me up and down, her eyes full of undisguised sarcasm and coldness. Shen Muhan, right? You're the one who took my precious granddaughter away. I advise you to return my granddaughter now, otherwise I will call the police. Zhang Minute spoke without hesitation, intentionally bringing up this matter. The neighbors looked at each other and, not wanting things to get too ugly, they all tried to persuade them in a friendly way. Muhan, if the child is not your own, you should return the child to her. You must feel a little uncomfortable keeping the child, right? Yes, for elders of their age, the most important thing is the child. If we give the child to her, the matter will be over. Listening to the constant consoling voices of Uncle Zhao and Uncle Shu, I just lowered my eyes slightly and didn't take their words to heart at all. Aunt Song, you swore that Shen Niannian is your precious granddaughter. Can you produce any useful evidence? I narrowed my eyes and blurted out, no matter what, according to the legal terms and precautions, Shen Niannian is still my daughter. If you don't have any strong evidence to prove that Shen Niannian is related to Song Yu by blood, I still hope that you can leave as soon as possible, so as to avoid ending up in embarrassment. This is also my advice. When Zhang Minute heard what I said, her face turned pale instantly. At this moment, she was extremely angry. Chen Muhan, you have the guts to snatch my precious granddaughter, I must sue you. While speaking, Zhang Minute glared at me fiercely, her slightly dirty eyes filled with unconcealable hatred. I don't care about it. Chapter 35. At this moment, I walked slowly towards her, quietly looking at Zhang Minute who was so close in front of me. Aunt Song, you should also understand the law, right? Now you are deliberately leading the nearby neighbors to gather and cause trouble. If I call the police now, who do you think will be taken away? This is my threat in disguise. If Zhang Minute cared about Shen Niannian from the beginning, she would never have abandoned Bai Shasha who was in confinement. After all, Bai Shasha is at least Shen Niannian's biological mother. But because Zhang Minute wanted to pick up this ready-made precious granddaughter, she didn't care about Bai Shasha's life or death at all. When Shen Niannian was a little older and could drink milk powder, Zhang Minute shamelessly came to the door to ask for the child. Fortunately, Zhang Minute had made some calculations. You dare? Zhang Minute obviously didn't expect me to do this. She first took several steps back without leaving a trace, and then continued talking to the neighbors around her. Everyone, please judge for me. How can there be such a person in this world? Not only did Shin Moo-han kidnap my precious granddaughter, but he also planned to send me to the police station. Chen Moo-han, you really don't feel guilty, right? When everyone heard this, they looked at each other, but they had no idea how to comment on the right and wrong. Aunt Wu thought for a moment and finally stepped forward. Okay, everyone go your separate ways. This is Xiaoshen's family's business. They know their limits. It's more or less inappropriate for us to interfere in their family affairs. All gone. Aunt Wu is the head of the nearby street office. Since she spoke like that, it was natural for others not to stay any longer. At once, all the neighbors dispersed. Before leaving, Aunt Wu raised her head and glanced meaningfully at Zhang Minute, who was deliberately shouting. She strode up to me and said again, Xiaoshen, you'd better be careful. This woman is not someone you can easily mess with. I kept Aunt Wu's reminder in mind. I see. Thank you, Aunt Wu. You can go back soon. After everyone left, Zhang Minute simply stopped pretending. She folded her arms across her chest and stared at me, saying this in a very impolite manner. Chen Moo-han, I have given you a chance. If you send Shen Yanyan back to me now, I will not bother with you. She couldn't even think about taking Shen Yanyan away. I kept a cold face and continued to treat him coldly. Otherwise, the fact that my son cheated on you will soon be made public, and then you will be the one who will be embarrassed. When talking about this, Zhang Minute couldn't even stop laughing. It was as if this was something particularly glorious for Song Yu. Am I the one who is embarrassed? I couldn't help but sneer, and said, Aunt Song, it seems that you are really old and can't tell right from wrong. From beginning to end, I was an innocent victim. When did victims become a disgrace? What Zhang Minute said is a typical case of victim blaming. Chapter 36. Maybe Zhang Minute didn't take me seriously at all, or maybe it was because in her eyes, my threat was insignificant. At this point, Zhang Minute shrugged her shoulders nonchalantly, her face full of unconcealable contempt and disgust. Chen Moo-han, you're still begging and forcing a child like Shen Yanyan to stay by your side. Have you never seen a child in your life? Zhang Min's eyes were full of mockery. If I were you, I would really want to get away from this kid as soon as possible to avoid being entangled by him. After hearing this, I also realized that it would not be easy to get Zhang Minute to give up. I simply took out my cell phone and looked up the money I had transferred to Bai Shasha during this period. Aunt Song, according to what you said, Nyan Nyan is your precious granddaughter, so you might as well reimburse me for the money now. As long as you transfer the money, I will give the child to you immediately. When she met Zhang Minute in the hospital before, she couldn't stop thinking about how to rely on Bai Shasha. This also made me realize clearly that a person like Zhang Minute, who is a petty person in the market, has been frugal all her life and naturally doesn't want to spend a penny more. Zhang Minute, who was arrogant before, changed her expression when she heard these words. The next second, she couldn't help but blurt out, I didn't ask you to transfer the money. This money has nothing to do with me. Didn't you transfer the money to Bai Shasha? If you have the ability, go and ask her for the money. As if remembering something, Zhang Minute snorted. Besides, after you and Bai Shasha divorced, shouldn't you give her money on time to raise the child? This is your obligation. Changing the subject, Zhang Minute once again put all the blame on me. When I heard her blurt out these words, I just found it ridiculous. Zhang Minute is really used to taking advantage of others. Didn't you say that Shen Yanyan's biological father is Song Yu, and she is your precious granddaughter? You can't even bear to spend this little money to raise a child, so what do you expect to bring Yanyan back now? I said without hesitation, with a cold face, Aunt Song, I have given you enough face by not exposing your shortcomings in front of the neighbors, but if you still intend to persist, then there's no need for me to talk to you nicely. Call the police now. Maybe it was because Zhang Minute noticed the change in my expression, or maybe it was because Zhang Minute realized that something was wrong with the current situation. She took several steps back without saying anything, still showing a disdainful look. Chen Moo-han, I have other plans today, I don't want to continue to argue with you. Otherwise, I will definitely take that child Nyan Nyan away. Even now, Zhang Minute is still pretending. I ignored her, walked slowly to the door of my house, and opened the door with the key in my hand. In the end, Zhang Minute shut her mouth awkwardly and fled in a panic. I didn't expect that when I opened the door, I would bump into my parents who were right in front of me. They all showed a bit of nervousness, and couldn't help looking me up and down. Moo-han, are you okay? The first one to speak was my mother. She reached out her hand hurriedly and grabbed my arm, looking me carefully from front to back, fearing that I would be bullied. When I met my mother's anxious eyes, I couldn't help but smile. What can I do? As I was talking, I reached out and placed my hand on my mother's. Mom, don't worry, I'm fine. Even my usually calm father was a little impatient at this moment. He frowned tightly and asked quickly. Chapter 37. What on earth is going on? Muhan, your mother and I heard the noise outside just now. It was your Aunt Wu who called us and asked us to stay behind closed doors. Both parents are extremely worried. The two of them kept talking to each other. Muhan, tell us, what is going on? Why did I just hear someone say that she is Nyan Nyan's biological grandmother? If I keep avoiding the problem, my parents will never be at ease. I took a deep breath and tried my best to calm my agitated emotions. Mom and Dad, please sit down first and let me drink some water. I drove on the highway all the way and didn't dare to relax for even a second. Later, when I finally arrived at the door of my house, I happened to run into Jong Minute, who had bad intentions. After a long argument with Jong Minute, he just entered the house without even having a sip of water. Naturally, I feel a little tired at this moment. My parents were a little panicked and worried. But when they heard me say this, they looked at each other, one of them hurriedly poured me some water, and the other one pulled me to sit down on the sofa. Dad handed me a glass of warm water. Muhan, drink some water first. After I drank a whole glass of water and finally came to my senses, I saw that the old couple in front of me were staring at me. Why don't I understand the current situation? I shook my head helplessly, sighed slightly with emotion, and finally told everything. Mom and Dad, it was Song Yu's biological mother who came just now. She came to our house specifically to snatch Nyan Nyan away. When I said this, I couldn't help but frown. She is indeed very capable. She is capable of inciting our neighbors and wants everyone to stand on her side and speak for her. Upon hearing this, my father immediately raised his hand and slammed the table hard. How ridiculous! Isn't she going too far? My mother first reached out and pulled my father's arm, shook her head at him and gestured a few words, then asked a few more questions. What happened next? What happened next? As my parents continued to question me, I simply and clearly laid things out and explained everything. When parents learned that Jong Minute came here for Shin Nyan Nyan, their attitudes were extremely tough. Tell her to get out as soon as possible. Who said Nyan Nyan is her granddaughter? Aren't they deliberately coming here to snatch the child? My dad has always had a bad temper, and when he was talking to us, he couldn't help but swear. Considering that Shin Nyan Nyan was still sleeping at this moment, her mother frowned tightly, she glanced at her father, and immediately lowered her voice when she spoke. Please keep your voice down and don't wake Nyan Nyan up. After she finished speaking, my mother looked at me righteously and said, Muhan, if you see her again, you must make it clear that our family will never give Nyan Nyan to her. After a pause, my mother's attitude became more firm. If you ask me, Nyan Nyan is clearly your biological daughter. She is 50% similar to you. She is definitely from our Shin family. At this time, my father also nodded in agreement. That's right. Chapter 38. Perhaps when I took great pains to bring Shin Nyan Nyan home in the beginning, my parents were still unwilling to accept Nyan Nyan as a child because of their prejudice against Baishasha. Because of the daily interactions during this period, my parents realized that Nyan Nyan was so young and the most innocent child. Even though they were dissatisfied with Baishasha as her biological mother, they loved the infant Shin Nyan Nyan very much and always took good care of the child. When I met my parents' gaze, I took a deep breath. Mom and Dad, don't worry, I will never let her get what she wants. This is my promise. Similarly, there is absolutely no way I would sit idly by and watch Jong Minute, or even Song Yu, fight for my child. After saying that, I slowly stood up. The reason why I am full of energy in doing anything now is because I am thinking of Shin Nyan Nyan in my heart. With my children around, I can do anything. After my parents and I nodded, I said something. I'll go see Nyan Nyan. When I first bought their house, I specifically bought a large 3-bedroom, 2-living-room apartment. My parents were afraid that I would repeat the same mistake and get involved with Baishasha again, so they intentionally moved in with me, under the pretext of wanting to keep an eye on me. Besides, my parents have always been extremely concerned about my marriage. They won't be at ease until I find a new girlfriend. Now that my parents have moved in, they can keep an eye on my love life all the time, and they are also looking forward to me bringing home a girlfriend as soon as possible. My original study has now been converted into a children's room. Looking at Shin Nyan Nyan sleeping soundly in the crib, I just felt my heart soften, and all my efforts and hard work were rewarded. Nyan Nyan, don't worry, Dad will never let anyone take you away from me, no matter who it is. As soon as my words fell, Shin Nyan Nyan slowly opened her eyes. She opened her arms wildly and waved them at me. Looking at Shin Nyan Nyan's cute little appearance, I couldn't help but smile, and immediately bent down and picked up Shin Nyan Nyan carefully. When the child was happy, he started to giggle happily. Perhaps she heard the noise in the room, and her mother calculated the time and prepared Shin Nyan Nyan's milk powder. Muhan, go take a shower and clean yourself up. I'll feed her. From what she said, it seemed like my mother disliked me. I couldn't help but feel helpless and couldn't help but sigh, my clothes are not dirty. Dad continued speaking along the lines of what Mom said. You've been out all day, and you might have all sorts of germs on your body. Go clean yourself up quickly. I smiled helplessly and could only nod and agree. Okay, I got it. To be honest, I am very grateful to my parents. Whether it was in the past when I learned that Bai Shasha had cheated on Song Yu, or now when I chose to bring Shin Nyan Nyan home without hesitation. My parents have always supported all my choices unconditionally. Usually when I am extremely busy, my parents are the ones who take care of Nyan Nyan for me, which allows me to focus on my work with peace of mind. Mom and Dad, thank you. I rarely say such sour words. So when my parents heard what I said, they couldn't help but look at each other for a moment, as if they felt that the sun had risen in the west. What's wrong with you? My mother turned her head and glanced at me, her eyes full of confusion. Even my dad has this attitude. It's not like your character to say such sour words. Chapter 39. I recovered and just shrugged my shoulders, nothing. For a long time afterwards, I still kept going back and forth between 2 points. In addition to going to work on time, after finishing work, I can't wait to go home and take care of my children. During lunch break, I was planning to go downstairs to a nearby fast food restaurant to grab a bite to eat so I could get back to work as soon as possible. Unexpectedly, I met Lu Zheng, a colleague from the project team, by chance. Lu Zheng can be said to have entered the company with me, but because we were not in the same department, we didn't become so familiar with each other later. What a coincidence, Shin Muhan. Lu Zheng was the first to wave at me. He walked over quickly and put his arm on my shoulders. It seems like we haven't seen each other for a long time, right? That's true. A while ago, colleagues in our department were always working overtime. All the marketing department needs to do every day is to conduct research, and there is no particularly heavy pressure or burden, so they can naturally get off work on time. Yeah, long time no see. I chuckled and nodded slowly. After saying hello, I glanced at the people around me. Lu Zheng looked at me with a smile on his face, his joy unconcealable. You are in such a good mood today, could it be that something good happened to you? I was a little curious and asked a question. Are you going to get a promotion and a raise? Upon hearing this, the smile on Lu Zheng's face faded. If I get a promotion and a raise, I'll be so happy. Thinking of serious matters, Lu Zheng looked around at the situation. When no one was paying attention, he suddenly moved closer to me. Muhan, you probably don't know yet, but our company will be transferring a very young female director here soon. Female director? This doesn't seem to have anything to do with me. I nodded nonchalantly, got it. For me now, the most important thing is to earn more money to support my family and take care of my baby. Apart from this, I don't have any other lofty ambitions. Lu Zheng glanced at me suspiciously. Are you so calm? Can you be a little more cheerful? Young female director. I heard she's still single, which means we all have a chance next time. Maybe I can reach the top in one step. Lu Zheng's idea is a bit far-fetched. But to be honest, Lu Zheng is not only young, but also has extremely handsome and strong facial features and a good figure. He is fully qualified to think about this. But I'm different. I am divorced and am far inferior to Lu Zheng. Furthermore, because of the precedent of Bai Shasha, I have already begun to have certain doubts about love. In this case, I have no other intentions or thoughts at all. You are young, so it's okay to have such thoughts. I chuckled and reached out to pat Lu Zheng's shoulder. If you have any ideas, just go for it. I believe you can succeed. Upon hearing this, Lu Jing first smiled triumphantly, that's right. While chatting and laughing, Lu Jing seemed to have remembered something. He couldn't help but ask, what about you? Mu Han, I've heard those rumors about you. Are you planning to be alone from now on? This is not your fault. I also know that you have always been a clean man. There must be a lot of girls who like a good man like you. Chapter 40. I inadvertently met Lu Jing's gaze, and for a moment I didn't know how to respond to him. Maybe in the eyes of others, I was not at fault in my previous marriage. Completely innocent from beginning to end. But I am indeed married for the second time. There have also been many people who have secretly talked about me behind my back, and some have even mocked me for being cuckolded. I can't control what others say about these things. But even so, it doesn't mean that I am completely ignorant. I looked at Lu Jing and shrugged indifferently. Forget it. I don't have any ambition in this regard. I laughed at myself and said, besides, our sales department is always very busy and we don't have time to think about anything else. If I had known earlier, I should have chosen to go to the marketing department like you did. I meant this as a compliment. Although the marketing department is less busy, the salary and benefits are far less than what I am currently in the sales department. Lu Jing didn't think there was anything wrong and he chuckled. When people are idle, they tend to lose their fighting spirit. After the teasing, Lu Jing did not forget to get back to the point. Mu Han, I am telling you the truth now because you have been my good friend for so many years. This female director is a rare rich lady in Jiao City. I also heard that she is young and beautiful, and she also studied abroad, and she has many suitors. According to the market. When I heard this, the first person I thought of was Yu Minji. But this couldn't be Yu Minji either. I nodded casually, and understood the whole story. I see. With a sigh, I cast my gaze towards Lu Jing again, then you have to work hard. I believe you can succeed. Although Lu Jing and I joined the company at the same time. But over the years, I have worked in the sales department for so many years, and have experienced all kinds of wind and rain, and have already acquired a lot of skills. It can also easily cope with various large scenes. But Lu Jing just lives a lazy life every day and now he even has the idea of living off his wife. I can only sigh that people with different ideals cannot work together. Just when I was about to say goodbye to Lu Jing and leave, Lu Jing took a few steps towards me on his own and put his hand on my shoulder as usual. Lu Jing's face was filled with an unconcealable smile. I've told you such sensational news, so you're going to treat me to a good meal now, right? His words left me a little speechless. I went straight to the fast food restaurant. Okay, let's go eat fast food. At this time, Lu Jing grabbed my arm without saying a word. Why are we going to eat bento fast food? Let's go to a nearby Western restaurant. When I become successful, I will definitely treat you. Under such circumstances, Lu Jing shamelessly took advantage of my meal. This Western food is also very expensive. When I saw the price on the bill, I couldn't help but frown. Although I didn't say a word on the surface, my heart was bleeding. More than 5,000 yuan is enough to buy some baby toys and milk powder imported from New Zealand for Nyan Nyan. As the person involved, Lu Jing did not feel embarrassed at all. He turned his head and looked at me from time to time, with smiles in his eyes. Mu Han, you are really nice. Thank you for today. After saying this, Lu Jing walked away without hesitation. At this time, I was the only one left standing there. If I had known this, I should have rejected Lu Jing directly and avoided having any relationship with him. I reached out and rubbed my brows, feeling a little irritated.